They called her a nobody, a homeless woman with a past she refused to talk about. But one cold morning, she saved a millionaire CEO's son from certain death, and that should have been the end of the story. But instead, it was the beginning of a nightmare that would shake an entire town. Because the moment she saved that child, powerful people realized something terrifying. She wasn't supposed to survive what happened 10 years ago. Not the fire, not the cover-up, and definitely not the truth she was about to uncover. What no one expected was that the woman they tried to erase would be the one who exposed everything. And when the town finally learned who she really was, everything changed. Chapter 1. Marlow Ridge Mornings. If you've ever lived in a small American town, you know how quiet it can look on the outside, and how many secrets sit beneath the surface. Marlow Ridge wasn't any different. It was the kind of place where people greeted each other at stop signs, where the bakery still used handwritten labels, and where everyone knew everyone else, or at least pretended to. But even in a town like that, there were corners people didn't look at. And one of those corners was where Raina Mercer spent most mornings. She sat on a worn-out bench behind Harper's Coffee, her knees tucked, close for warmth, her dark hair tied back in a frayed elastic band. If you passed her on the street, you might assume she preferred being invisible. She didn't ask for money. She didn't bother anyone. She just wrote in her journal quietly, like she was trying to stitch her mind back together one word at a time. Most folks avoided looking too long. It wasn't cruelty, it was guilt wearing the mask of politeness. But Raina? She noticed everything, every cold glance, every whispered judgment, every kid tugged away by a parent too quickly. Still, she didn't blame them. Her life hadn't always been like this. In another world, a world she could still feel if she closed her eyes long enough, she wasn't a homeless woman behind a coffee shop. She was a daughter, a student, a fiancée. She had dreams. She had a future. But that future vanished the night the fire took everything from her. Some mornings, she could still smell the smoke. Raina closed her journal as a breeze rolled through the alley, carrying the faint smell of cinnamon buns. Harper's always baked too early, she thought. It made the whole town smell like childhood memories. Across the street, office workers filled the Davenport Logistics building. The tall glass door swung open every few seconds as people came and went with lattes and laptop bags. And every morning, Raina watched the same SUV pull into the parking lot around 8:15 a.m., Silas Davenport. People whispered about him like he was both royalty and mystery, a millionaire CEO who didn't act like one. He lived simple, dressed simple, stayed humble. The kind of man who held doors open instead of waiting for someone else to do it. But his eyes, there was always something lonely in them. His son, Drew, was the opposite. 8 years old, light-hearted, but quietly hurting. Kids who lose a parent often carry their grief in silence, and Drew was no different. He wondered when he felt sad. Raina could always tell. On this particular morning, as workers bustled and traffic hummed through town, Raina felt something tug in her gut, a subtle shift in the air, the kind of feeling you only get when life is about to change. And she wasn't wrong. Chapter 2. Raina's Routine. Raina's routine wasn't glamorous, but it was predictable, something she desperately needed. She stood from her bench, slipping her journal into her faded blue backpack. Every page of that journal held a memory she wasn't ready to lose. Quotes from books she loved, loose sketches of Drew, his smile when she saw him from afar, and, most painful of all, little drawings of Colton Reyes, the man she once loved, the man whose memory lived in ashes. Raina crossed the alley, heading toward the soup kitchen behind St. Mary's Church. Volunteers knew her by name, and she always helped before grabbing a bite. "Morning, Raina," said Mrs. Teller, one of the elderly regulars. "Morning," Raina replied softly. "You're here early. Couldn't sleep." Mrs. Teller nodded. "Bad dreams?" Raina didn't answer, but the old woman didn't need her to. She simply gave a knowing smile and handed her a warm roll. Raina never asked for anything more. And this was what people in town didn't understand. Raina didn't want pity. She wanted peace. After helping set tables, she walked back toward Harper's. On her way, she noticed the town bulletin board, charity events, bake sales, a new zoning meeting. But, right in the middle, a missing file notice. Strange. It was from Davenport Logistics, a financial document gone missing. Raina stared at it for a second, too long. She wasn't sure why it caught her attention, maybe because she used to be meticulous, with paperwork back in nursing school, or maybe because the file name felt familiar somehow. Across the street, Drew stepped out of the building with his backpack. He looked distracted, kicking at the ground, wandering away from the entrance. Again, Raina's heart tensed just a little. She watched him almost instinctively now, like a reflex from her training. Even after all these years, she still had the instincts of someone who once cared for others professionally. As she watched Drew stepping closer to the curb, she felt the wind shift again. Something was off today. Something was about to happen. But she didn't know what, not yet. She turned back to her bench, opened her journal, and the world faded into scribbles once more, until a shadow fell over her page. It wasn't a person. It was a truck. A delivery truck rounding the corner too fast, too distracted, too unaware of the small boy stepping backward into the street. Raina's eyes widened. The journal dropped from her hands. Chapter 3. The Snowball Moment. Drew wasn't paying attention, just a child lost in his thoughts. He kicked a clump of snow into the street, laughing softly when it exploded into tiny flakes. His red coat looked too small for him now. His shoulders drooped like the weight of something he didn't understand sat on them every day. The truck's tires screeched as it turned the corner. Raina didn't think. She moved. Her feet pounded the pavement. Her breath burned her lungs. The world slowed into fragments. The snow drifting like feathers. The truck's headlights flaring. Drew stepping backward again. The driver shouting something soundless and muffled. Raina lunged, grabbed Drew around the waist, and pulled him toward her just as the truck slammed its brakes. The sound cut through the morning like a scream. Drew clung to her, trembling. Raina's heart raced as adrenaline flooded her veins. She whispered, "You're okay. You're okay." The driver jumped out, pale and shaking. "I didn't see him. Oh God, I didn't." Raina didn't yell. She didn't blame him. She just nodded, still holding Drew close. Silas was out the door within seconds, his face drained of color. He ran to them, breath sharp, eyes wide with fear. "Drew, are you okay?" He gasped, dropping to his knees. Drew nodded, still pressed against Raina. Silas turned to Raina. For a moment, he didn't speak. He just stared at her like he was trying to understand how someone he barely knew had just saved his entire world. Then finally, with a trembling voice, "Thank you. You may have saved my son's life." Raina swallowed hard. Anyone would have done it. But Silas knew the truth. Not everyone would. He helped Drew stand, still keeping a hand on his son's shoulder. Raina stood too, brushing snow off her clothes. The whole parking lot had fallen silent. Every worker, every passerby, everyone watching like they couldn't believe what had just happened. Raina took one small step back, not wanting attention, not wanting praise. But then, a hand slipped into her coat pocket. Quick, silent, unnoticed by anyone else. Raina froze. The person slipped away before she could see their face, vanishing into the forming crowd. She reached into her pocket, a folded note. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Just 6 words written in hurried, uneven ink. "Leave Marlow Ridge before they find you." The snow fell softly around her. Her heart dropped, and for the first time in years, Raina felt fear return. Not from homelessness, not from grief, not from being judged, but from the possibility that someone in this town knew exactly who she was. Chapter 4. The Aftershock. The ambulance never came. Drew was perfectly fine, but the shock lingered long after the truck rolled away and the crowd dissolved. Raina stood at the edge of the parking lot, trying to steady her breathing. Drew clung to his father's hand, watching her with wide, grateful eyes. Silas approached again, his voice softer this time, more human, more raw. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked. Raina nodded. Her heart was still thudding, but she forced a small smile. "I'm fine. I just reacted." Silas exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to." "Really?" But Silas shook his head. "Raina, you saved my son." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. Compliments always felt too heavy, too undeserved. She wasn't a hero. She never saw herself that way. She bent down to Drew. "You scared me for a second there." "I'm sorry," Drew whispered. Raina's voice softened. "It's okay. Just be careful, all right?" He nodded quietly. Silas straightened and studied her with a careful, curious expression. Not judgment, not pity, something else entirely. "Let me at least buy you dinner tonight," he said. "To say thank you." Raina froze. Dinner? With him? Her instinct, say no. Attention was the last thing she wanted. And she didn't belong in fancy restaurants or across from a CEO with immaculate posture and a tailored coat. But something in his eyes stopped her refusal. He wasn't pitying her. He wasn't trying to show off. He was genuinely grateful. Still, she hesitated. I appreciate it, but—" "Please," Silas interrupted gently. "Just dinner. Nothing more. You've done something extraordinary today, and I want to do something kind in return." A small pause. Raina eventually nodded once. "All right." Silas smiled, not wide, just enough to soften his whole face. 7 o'clock? At Pearl's Diner? Pearl's, not upscale, not pretentious, normal, comfortable. "Okay," she said quietly. Drew grinned, tugging Silas's sleeve. "Dad, can I come?" Silas chuckled. "Another time, buddy. Raina deserves at least one meal without you throwing fries at someone." Drew laughed, and even Raina smiled. It was brief, but real. As Silas walked Drew back inside, Raina reached into her coat pocket, fingertips brushing the note again. "Leave Marlow Ridge before they find you." Her stomach twisted. Who wrote it? Who knew her? Who was watching? She looked around, scanning rooftops, alleyways, windows. No one stood out, but someone had been close enough to slip that note into her pocket without anyone noticing. Someone had been waiting. Someone who absolutely did not want her in this town. The wind chilled her as she walked back to her bench, gripping her backpack a little tighter. This wasn't just about the accident anymore. This wasn't just a moment of kindness. Something had been set in motion, something she didn't understand, and she feared it had everything to do with the past she'd spent years trying to outrun. Chapter 5. Dinner at Pearl's. Pearl's Diner was the type of place that felt stuck in time. Vinyl seats, neon signs, the faint smell of frying onions. People loved it because nothing ever changed inside its walls. Tonight, though, something was different. People noticed when Raina walked in. They always did, but tonight the whispering was louder. That's her, the homeless woman who saved the CEO's son. Why is Silas Davenport having dinner with her? What does he want with her? Raina felt their stares like tiny needles. If she hadn't promised, she would have left immediately. But Silas waved her over from a booth near the back, giving her a warm smile that cut through the tension. "You made it," he said. Raina slid into the seat across from him. "Yeah." Didn't want to be rude. The waitress poured water and slipped away. Silas leaned forward slightly, voice low. "I'm sorry about the attention," he said. "People talk too much in this town." "I'm used to it," Raina replied. But Silas shook his head. "You shouldn't have to be." A moment passed, quiet, heavy, thoughtful. "You know," Silas continued, "my mom always said Marlow Ridge was a friendly place. But I think sometimes friendliness is just a mask for people afraid to know anything real." Raina blinked. She wasn't expecting him to understand that truth so clearly. She wasn't expecting him to understand her. "Why do you think that is?" she asked. Silas shrugged. "People don't like what scares them. and they don't like confronting things they can't fix. Raina felt a warmth in her chest, not romance, not yet, but a recognition. Someone finally saw the world through a lens similar to hers. Their food arrived, simple plates, nothing extravagant. They talked lightly at first. Favorite foods, Drew's personality, Silas's attempts at cooking, Raina's love for sketching. But eventually, Silas asked softly, "Do you have family here?" It wasn't invasive, just curiosity. Raina swallowed. "No." "Friends?" "No." He paused. "Anyone you trust?" She looked down at her plate. "Not anymore." Silas nodded as if he expected that answer. He didn't push. He didn't pry. He simply said, "If you ever need help, you can come to me." Raina's throat tightened. She wanted to say thank you, but the words felt too fragile, too small for the weight of the moment. Instead, she said quietly, "Kindness scares people too." Silas smiled faintly. "Then I guess we're both the strange ones in this town." Their eyes met. A spark, subtle but unmistakable, passed between them. But before either of them could speak, someone entered the diner. A tall man in a sharp suit, cold expression, calculating eyes. Marcus Hale, Silas's business partner. He spotted them immediately, and his expression changed. Confusion first, then irritation, then something darker. He walked over, planting his palms on the table. "Silas," Marcus said tightly. "We need to talk." Silas straightened. "I'm having dinner." "With her?" Marcus asked, glancing at Raina as if she were a stain on the table. Raina looked away. Silas's jaw tightened. "Marcus, not now." Marcus lowered his voice, but not enough. "Are you out of your mind? This woman—" Silas cut him off sharply. "Marcus, not now." The entire diner went silent. Marcus forced a tight smile, but his eyes burned. "Fine. We'll talk tomorrow." He walked out without another word. Raina exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Silas said firmly. "Marcus is complicated," but Raina could tell. Marcus didn't hate her because she was homeless. He hated her because she represented something unpredictable, and people like Marcus feared anything they couldn't control. Dinner ended quietly after that, but something fundamental had shifted. Silas saw Raina differently now, and Marcus saw Raina as a threat. And the town? They saw the beginning of a story they didn't fully understand. But someone else, someone more dangerous, saw something else entirely. An opportunity, a chance to remind Raina Mercer that she should have stayed hidden. Chapter 6. The Job Offer. Raina didn't sleep that night. Not after the accident, not after dinner, not after Marcus's glare, and definitely not after rereading the note in her pocket for the 20th time. She lay awake on her park bench, wrapped in a donated blanket, staring at the sky until dawn dimmed the stars. When morning came, she washed her face at the public restroom and headed toward the soup kitchen again. But halfway there, a black SUV pulled up beside her. Silas stepped out, his expression gentle but determined. "Raina," he said, "I wanted to catch you before you disappeared." "I wasn't disappearing," she muttered. Silas smiled lightly. "Good." He took a breath. "After what happened yesterday, after talking with you, I want to offer you something." Raina shifted. "Silas." "No, hear me out." He continued. "I need help at the office. Someone organized, someone calm, someone who sees things other people overlook." Raina blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you." Raina stared at him. "But I don't have a home. I don't have school credentials anymore. Raina," Silas interrupted softly. "I don't care about any of that. I care about who you are." Her heart tightened. He wasn't offering charity. He was offering trust. Silas added, "If you want the job, it's yours. Part-time at first, flexible hours. And I'll help you get proper housing through a partner shelter, legally." Respectfully, Raina felt something in her chest crack open. Hope. But along with hope came fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of being noticed. fear of someone recognizing her past. She looked down. Silas, you don't even know me. He stepped closer. I want to. She swallowed. Why? He hesitated. Then quietly, because you saved my son. Because my son trusts you. Because you deserve a chance. And because something about you tells me you've been alone for too long. Raina felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them away. Finally, she whispered, I'll try. Silas smiled softly. Good. Come by the office at 10. He opened the car door for her. And one more thing. She paused. Whatever happened in your past, he said, you don't have to face it alone anymore. Her breath caught. But as the SUV pulled away, Raina felt something odd, like someone was watching her. She turned her head. Across the street, a figure stood near the alleyway, not moving, not walking, just staring. And in that moment, Raina felt the truth. Her past had found her, and it wasn't going away. Chapter 7. A New Beginning, and New Eyes Watching. At exactly 9:55 a.m., Raina stood outside Davenport Logistics for the first time as an employee rather than a passerby. She wore donated business clothes, a simple blouse and carefully ironed slacks. They weren't new, but they made her feel almost like herself again, the version of her she used to be. Before, everything changed. She clutched her backpack tightly as she stepped inside, feeling dozens of eyes land on her at once. The reception area buzzed with quiet chatter, clicking keyboards, and the scent of office coffee that somehow always tasted worse than it smelled. Can I help you? The receptionist asked politely. I'm here to see Silas, Raina replied. Before the receptionist could respond, a familiar voice called out, Raina, right on time. Raina turned to see Silas, smiling warmly as he walked over. He was dressed simply, dark shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie loose. He always looked like he was one unresolved conversation away from collapsing into exhaustion, yet he carried himself with a strange, steady confidence. He gestured for her to follow. Come on, I'll show you around. Employees whispered as they passed. That's her. She's the woman who saved his kid. Why is he hiring her? Is she even qualified? Raina kept her gaze forward, but each whisper sliced deeper than she expected. She wasn't new to judgment. She'd lived on the streets long enough to recognize the tone. But this time, it hurt more. Maybe because she finally wanted this chance. Maybe because she was afraid of messing it up. Silas led her to a small office space with a desk, computer, and window that overlooked the town square. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. This will be your workspace, he said. You'll help with scheduling, emails, and basic admin tasks. Nothing too overwhelming. Raina nodded. Thank you. I'll try my best. I know you will, Silas said. Then, with a softer tone, you deserve this opportunity. Before Raina could respond, the office door opened. A woman stepped inside, mid-30s, elegant but approachable, wearing a tailored beige coat and carrying a tote bag. She had that effortless confidence that made people turn their heads. Her expression softened when she saw Raina. Oh, you must be Raina, she said warmly. I'm Leah Bexley, Silas's cousin-in-law. Raina smiled nervously. Nice to meet you. Leah didn't hesitate to step forward and give her a friendly, unexpected hug. Thank you for saving Drew. You have no idea how much that meant to all of us. Raina stiffened, surprised by the genuine affection. Silas cleared his throat awkwardly. Leah is family, and also way too expressive before lunchtime. Leah smirked. Still mad I beat you in the spaghetti cook-off 3 years in a row. We don't talk about that, Silas muttered, and Raina couldn't help smiling. But beneath Leah's playful exterior, Raina sensed something else. Something guarded. Something complicated. Leah's eyes lingered on Raina a second too long, like she was sizing her up, or searching for something she recognized. Before Raina could decipher that look, Leah squeezed her hand. You ever need anything? I'm around, she said. Then she added, and don't let these people intimidate you. They're all harmless. Except Marcus. Silas frowned. Leah. What? She shrugged. You know it's true. A chill went through Raina's spine. Marcus again. Always Marcus. Silas escorted her back to her desk. Ignore half of what Leah says. Raina nodded. But she already knew. Leah wasn't entirely joking. And somewhere across the office, Marcus watched. Jaw clenched, eyes sharp. The first seeds of trouble were already sprouting. Chapter 8. Office Days and Quiet Threats. For the first hour, everything felt normal, almost peaceful. Raina organized digital files, sorted incoming mail, and responded to simple emails. Her fingers moved with muscle memory she didn't even know she still had. She felt capable, like she belonged. But it didn't last. At 11:32 a.m., Raina noticed something odd. A financial report that had been marked as received 3 weeks ago was missing from the digital archive. She searched again. Nothing. She double-checked the folder path. Still nothing. Looking for something. The voice sent a shiver down her arms. Marcus Hale leaned against the frame of her doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable but sharp. Just noticed a file is missing, Raina said carefully. Marcus stepped closer. Which file? She told him the name. His lips twitched. Not a smile, but something colder. Must have been misplaced. Happens all the time, he said. He walked over, typed quickly on her keyboard without asking permission, then leaned back. See? Nothing to worry about, but he hadn't found the file. He'd simply closed her search window. Something told her not to push. Not now. Marcus wasn't just annoyed by her presence. He was threatened by it. Word of advice, he said quietly. Stay in your lane. Do what Silas hired you to do. Nothing more. Before she could respond, he walked out. Raina took a shaky breath. Her instincts screamed. He's hiding something. But what? And why would he care if she discovered a missing file? Before she could think further, a small voice called out, Raina. She turned and saw Drew standing near the hallway, grinning brightly. Dad said I could take my break here, he said. Can I color next to you? Her heart melted. Of course. Come here. Drew happily pulled out crayons from his backpack and sat beside her, swinging his legs. Dad said you're helping him now. That means you'll be around more. Looks like it, she said with a smile. Drew leaned in, voice hushed. I'm really glad. You're nice. Some grown-ups are weird. Raina laughed gently. Some are. Drew frowned suddenly. Marcus doesn't like you. Raina paused. You noticed that? Everyone notices. Drew shrugged. He doesn't like Dad either. Dad says he's stressed, but adults say weird things when they don't want kids to worry. Raina exhaled. Drew was observant, more than most children his age. Then, Drew whispered, And someone asked me yesterday if you're dangerous. Raina froze. Who? I don't know. A man outside. He said your name. But Dad told me not to talk to strangers, so I ran. A cold wave washed over Raina. Someone knew her name. Someone was asking about her. Someone was watching her closely enough to approach Silas's son. Did he follow you? Raina asked gently. No, Drew said. He was just weird. She didn't want Drew to be frightened, so she forced a steady smile. Well, I'm proud of you for being careful, she said softly. But inside, panic churned. Who was that man? Why did he know her? What did he want? The feeling she'd had for weeks, of eyes watching her, footsteps behind her, suddenly didn't feel like paranoia. It felt like truth waiting to unfold. Chapter 9. Leah's Warning. Later that afternoon, as the office quieted and employees trickled out for lunch, Raina stepped outside for a moment to breathe. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of roasted coffee beans and cold pavement. She leaned against the building, closing her eyes. You look overwhelmed. She opened her eyes to see Leah, holding 2 cups of coffee. Raina forced a small smile. Just processing the day, Leah handed her a cup. Here, it's decaf. You look like the type who runs on nerves instead of caffeine. Raina accepted it gratefully. For a few seconds they sipped in silence. Then Leah said softly, "People here don't always say what they mean." Raina glanced over. "What do you mean?" Leah sighed, looking at the street. "This town is layered. Some people smile and hide daggers behind their backs. Some act friendly because they're terrified of being honest. And some," she paused, expression sharpening, "some don't like change." Raina frowned. "Because of me?" "Partly," Leah admitted. "Partly because Silas is, well, Silas, the town's golden child, the perfect widowed CEO. People hate when the narrative changes." Raina felt her stomach twist. "I don't want to change anything. I just needed a job." "I know," Leah said. "But you already changed things the moment you saved Drew." Raina swallowed. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Leah said. "But Marcus thinks you did." Raina stiffened. "What exactly is his problem?" she asked. Leah hesitated. Then she said something Raina didn't expect. "Marcus is scared of losing control. He's been trying to undermine Silas for months. And now? You've given Silas a reason to trust someone else." Raina blinked. "I didn't know that." "Of course you didn't. Marcus hides everything behind fake smiles and fancy suits." Leah turned toward her, expression serious. "But listen to me carefully, Raina. You need to be careful." Raina's breath hitched. "Why?" "Because whoever slipped that note into your pocket, it wasn't Marcus." Raina felt her heart drop. Leah stepped closer, voice low. "There are people in this town who know how to disappear in plain sight, people who control things quietly, people who have a lot to lose. If someone like you starts asking questions," Raina whispered, "Leah, what are you trying to tell me?" Leah took a deep breath. "There's something wrong in Marlow Ridge, something that's been wrong for years. And you walking into this town again, yes, I said again, wasn't an accident." Raina's eyes widened. "Again?" she repeated. "What do you mean again?" Leah's eyes flicked around, making sure no one was listening. Then she said, "You were here once before. You don't remember it. But someone else does." Before Raina could speak, Leah squeezed her shoulder gently, voice trembling just slightly. "Just be cautious. And stay close to Silas. Trust me on that." Then she walked away, disappearing into the building like a ghost. Raina stood frozen, her mind racing, her heart pounding. Her past, something she thought she escaped, suddenly felt like a locked door someone else held the key to. And the worst part, the key holder wasn't finished yet. Something bigger was coming. Chapter 10. The Numbers Don't Add Up. By Raina's third day at Davenport Logistics, she had already fallen into a rhythm. Not a perfect one. She still hesitated before speaking, still flinched when doors slammed too hard. But she was learning, and more importantly, she felt useful again. But today, something felt off. Silas had left early for a meeting at City Hall, leaving Raina with a stack of reports to sort through. Most were routine: vendor invoices, delivery schedules, payroll summaries. Then she came to a financial folder labeled Quarterly Expenditures, Pending Review. Half the pages were missing. Her eyebrows furrowed. That wasn't normal. Even when she was in nursing school, she knew enough about administrative work to recognize a poorly handled file. She searched the database. Nothing. Searched again. Still nothing. Like the file simply vanished. Raina felt that uncomfortable tug in her chest again. The same instinct she trusted. Back when she shadowed ER nurses, the instinct that something wasn't right. She clicked deeper into the archive. What she found next made her breath hitch. 3 entries, each from different vendors, all marked paid, all large sums. But the signatures, the digital signatures were identical. 2 identical. Almost like someone forged them. Her pulse quickened. Before she could dig further, "You shouldn't be looking at those. Marcus." He stood in her doorway with his arms crossed, jaw clenched so tightly she wondered if he'd break a tooth. His eyes darted to her screen, then back to her face. "Those documents are restricted," he said. "I'm assisting with admin tasks," Raina replied calmly. "They were assigned to my bin, Then you were assigned incorrectly, Marcus snapped. He stepped inside, too close, too deliberate. You are not to touch any financial files, ever. Is that clear? Rayner held his stare. I wasn't trying to overstep, I was just doing my job. Marcus leaned in, voice low. You don't have a job without Silas, he said. Remember that. And he doesn't understand how dangerous people like you can be. Her stomach twisted. People like me? He smiled, a polite, venomous smile. People who show up from nowhere with nothing and suddenly have access to places they shouldn't. He clicked out of the folder, shutting it with force. Stay in your lane, Miss Mercer. He turned and walked out, leaving a trail of hostility behind him. Rayner closed her eyes. Marcus wasn't just suspicious of her. He was hiding something. And whatever it was buried in the company's finances. Just before she returned to work, a soft tap on the table startled her. A sticky note, with Drew's handwriting. Don't be sad. You're the best person here. I believe in you. Her heart melted, but right beneath Drew's cheerful handwriting, there was another mark on the paper, faint, barely visible, a small stamp, a company seal she recognized. From the warehouse fire report she once read years ago, the one connected to Colton's death. Her breath caught. Coincidence? Or something more sinister? Her chest tightened as she folded the paper and slipped it into her pocket. She didn't know what was happening yet. But the threads were starting to connect. And whatever she was walking into, it had nothing to do with chance. Chapter 11. A letter from the past. Dinner hour at the shelter was quiet that evening. Rayner sat alone at the corner table, poking at a bowl of soup she didn't have the appetite for. Her mind spun with Marcus's hostility, the missing file, and the strange stamp on Drew's note. She felt something else too. Eyes. Watching. She scanned the room. Just families, volunteers, an elderly man playing cards alone. No one suspicious. But the feeling didn't go away. When she returned to her small transitional apartment, thanks to Silas's referral, the door was locked the way she left it. But there was something strange on the floor. A letter. A plain, unmarked envelope. Rayner froze. She picked it up slowly, heart thudding, fingers trembling. Inside was a single folded piece of paper, and a photo. Her chest tightened painfully as she stared at the image. It was her and Colton, smiling, at a county fair, days before the fire. She hadn't seen this photo in years. She didn't even know a copy existed. Her hands shook as she unfolded the paper. The message was short, terrifying. You were never meant to survive that night. Leave Marlow Ridge before we finish what we started. Rayner dropped the letter onto the bed. Her legs weakened. Her breath quickened. Her vision blurred at the edges. Someone knew her past, not just vaguely. They knew the details. The fire, Colton, her survival. And whoever sent this letter believed she wasn't supposed to survive. Her hands shook violently as she clutched the edge of the bed. No, this can't be happening again. Her past wasn't just returning. It was hunting her. A knock at her door jolted her out of panic. She froze, silent, terrified. Another knock. Rayner? It's me, Leah. Rayner opened the door cautiously. Leah raised an eyebrow. You look like you saw a ghost. Rayner swallowed. I'm fine. Leah stepped inside without waiting for permission. No, you're not. Something happened. I can tell. Rayner hesitated. Then, something inside her cracked. She handed Leah the letter. Leah read it. Her entire expression changed. Fear flashing first, then anger, then something else. Guilt? My God, Leah whispered. Who would? But she stopped abruptly, as if she knew something she shouldn't say. Leah, Rayner whispered, voice breaking. Who knows about my past? Leah hesitated. Something in her eyes shifted. Fear, loyalty, conflict, all fighting for control. There's something you need to understand, Rayner, she said quietly. This town isn't as harmless as it pretends to be. Rayner stared at her. What do you mean? Leah opened her mouth, but then she shook her head. Not yet. she whispered. It's not safe. She grabbed Raina's hand. Promise me you'll be careful. And whatever you do, don't confront Marcus alone. That wasn't the advice Raina expected. Why Marcus? She asked. Leah's lips tightened. Because he's not the only one watching you, Leah said. And he's not the one you should fear the most. Chapter 12. The Break-In. Raina slept lightly that night, her nerves frayed. Every creak of the building, every shift of the wind made her sit upright. She kept the letter and photo under her pillow, like holding them close would somehow keep danger away. It didn't. At exactly 3:14 a.m., a noise jolted her awake. A soft click. Then another. Someone was inside her apartment. Her breath seized in her throat. She froze, listening. Her heart pounded so loudly she was afraid they'd hear it. Light footsteps on the kitchen floor. Slow, deliberate. Searching. She slid silently out of bed, feet bare against the cold floor. She grabbed her phone, but she didn't dare turn it on. The glow would reveal her. A shadow moved past the doorway. Tall, calm, unhurried. They weren't stealing anything. They were looking for something. Raina inched toward her closet and slipped inside, closing the door quietly. She held her breath. The footsteps grew closer. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Her chest burned from holding in air. Then, the bedroom light flicked on. Raina's heart dropped. She saw his silhouette through the crack under the door. He walked slowly around the room, opening drawers, checking under the mattress, lifting her blankets. Then, he went to her nightstand. He opened it, paused, and placed something inside. What? The man stepped back. Then he spoke, with a calmness that made her blood run cold. You should have stayed gone. Raina clasped her hand over her mouth. He walked toward the door, paused again, then whispered, The truth didn't die in that fire. But you will if you stay. The door closed behind him. Raina stayed frozen for nearly 5 minutes before her legs finally gave out and she collapsed to the floor of the closet. When she finally crawled out, shaking violently, she rushed to the nightstand. Inside was a single item, a newspaper clipping from the night of the fire. Headline: Firefighter slums, woman in bad condition, cause under investigation. Someone had circled a line in pen. Initial reports suggest possible foul play. Raina's heart pounded. She whispered, No, no, this can't be real. Because below that line, written faintly in pencil, she recognized the handwriting. Colton's handwriting. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Her vision blurred as tears filled her eyes. Her past wasn't just resurfacing. It was unraveling. And whoever broke into her apartment didn't want her gone because she was homeless. They wanted her gone because she survived something she wasn't supposed to survive. Something someone had covered up. Something someone in this town still feared would come to light. Chapter 13. The Midpoint Shift. By the end of the week, Raina had managed to settle into her new role, at least on the surface. She printed schedules, filed invoices, assisted with customer emails, made coffee runs, all the normal things you'd expect from an office assistant. But inside, she was unraveling. The letter, the break-in, the note circled in Colton's handwriting, the missing files, the man who approached Drew, Marcus's hostility, Leah's ominous warning. Everything felt like a puzzle with pieces scattered across 2 different lifetimes, her old one and her new one. And today, the puzzle grew another piece. Silas entered her office, face tense, jaw set, stress weighing on his shoulders like an anchor. Raina, can you step into my office a moment? Her stomach twisted. The tone wasn't angry, just heavy. She followed him inside. He closed the door behind her. Have you noticed anything unusual with our financial records? He asked. The question punched her in the chest. She hesitated. He noticed. What did you find? Silas pressed. Raina swallowed. Some files were missing, and a few signatures looked the same. Too perfect. Almost Forged, Silas finished. Her eyes widened. You know? Silas rubbed his forehead. I suspected for weeks, but until recently I didn't have proof. And Marcus, he refuses to cooperate. Raina's pulse quickened. What do we do? She asked. Silas looked at her, really looked at her. Raina, did Marcus threaten you? She froze. Silas's gaze softened. You can tell me. I'll handle it. Raina exhaled shakily. He warned me not to look into anything. Silas's fists clenched. I knew it. He paced for a moment, then stopped in front of her. Listen to me. You didn't do anything wrong, and if you're in danger, I need to know. Raina hesitated. She reached into her pocket and unfolded the letter she received earlier that week. Silas took it, read it, went pale. Raina, he whispered. This isn't a warning. This is a threat. She nodded weakly. I know. Does anyone else know? Leah. Silas groaned. Of course she does. There was a heavy silence. Then he took a long, steady breath and said, I promise you, Raina, I won't let anything happen to you. Her throat tightened. Silas, you can't promise that. Watch me. Their eyes locked. The air between them shifted. Warm, charged, intimate. But the moment shattered when a knock hit the door. Marcus. Silas, he called. We need to talk. Now. Silas closed his eyes briefly. Later. No. Now. Silas opened the door, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. Marcus stepped inside, fake smile plastered across his face. Oh good, you're both here, he said. Makes this easier. Silas's tone turned icy. What do you want? Marcus placed a folder on the desk. Inside were printouts, dozens of them, of Raina's old hospital records, her homelessness documents, her psychiatric evaluations from when she first lost Colton, her shelter registrations, everything. How did you get these? Silas demanded. Marcus shrugged. Public records. Mostly, he smirked. Silas, she's not who you think she is. Raina felt her stomach drop. Marcus continued. You're trusting a woman with no stability, no credentials, a documented trauma history. And, oh, look at this, someone who's been involved in a fatal fire investigation. Silas's face hardened. Get out, he said. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? Get out. Marcus smirked. You're letting sympathy cloud your judgment. Leave, Silas growled. Now, Marcus walked out, but not before whispering, You'll regret this. The moment the door shut, Raina collapsed onto a chair, shaking. Silas sat beside her. I'm so sorry, he said. I never wanted you to go through this. He's right, Raina whispered. I shouldn't be here. My past is… Raina, Silas said firmly, lifting her chin gently. Your past doesn't scare me. Her breath trembled. He leaned in slightly, but then… Comment below. Who do you think is behind these threats? And if you're hooked, make sure you're subscribed to RustRoad Stories so you never miss what happens next. Now back to the story. Silas's voice softened. I'm on your side, Raina. No matter what Marcus thinks. Her eyes glistened. But before either of them could speak again, Silas's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, then cursed under his breath. What happened? Raina asked. Silas grabbed his coat. That meeting I had at City Hall, he said grimly. It wasn't about zoning. What was it about? He exhaled deeply. They're opening an investigation into my company's financial misconduct. Raina froze. Marcus is doing. Silas turned to her. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Raina's hands trembled because she knew he wasn't talking about the investigation. He was talking about her past resurfacing. Chapter 14. Old Records, New Clues. Raina left the office early that evening, overwhelmed by the chaos Marcus had unleashed. Every whisper, every stare, every suspicious glance from co-workers. It all became too much. She walked aimlessly through town until her feet took her to the public library. Quiet, warm, familiar. The librarian, Miss Clare, smiled gently as she passed. "You don't visit often," Miss Clare said. "Just needed somewhere quiet," Rayner murmured. Miss Clare nodded knowingly. "Quiet can heal things, talking only makes louder." Rayner found a seat in the local archives room, a section filled with old newspapers, dusty files, microfilm machines. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, until she saw it, a binder titled Marlow Ridge Construction Permits, 12-Year Archive. Her heart thudded. Colton's fire happened 10 years ago. Hands trembling, she flipped through pages until she reached the year of the fire. The same contractor name appeared again and again. Alcott and Sons Development. Alcott, the mayor's last name. Her pulse quickened. She checked the date. Her eyes widened. The contractor had received an emergency permit for renovations on the warehouse. Just days before the fire, someone had circled the approval signature years ago, and the signature belonged to Mayor Alcott himself. Rayner's breath caught. The mayor wasn't just a name on paper. He had personally signed off on the last modification to the warehouse, a modification that played a role in the structural collapse that killed Colton. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She flipped to a second page. Another circled line, different ink. Handwriting she recognized instantly. Colton's, written faintly in pencil. If anything feels wrong about this project, trust your instincts." Her entire body froze. Colton left her a trail, and she never even knew. Her vision blurred with tears. She whispered, "Colton, what were you trying to tell me?" Suddenly, a voice replied from behind her. "He was trying to warn you." Rayner spun around. Leah stood in the doorway, face pale, hands trembling. How did you find me?" Rayner asked. "I asked Miss Clare. She said someone matching your description went to the back room." Rayner wiped her eyes. "How much did you see?" "Enough," Leah whispered. "Rayner, the mayor, he's not what he seems." Her breath hitched. "What do you know?" Leah looked around, making sure they were alone. Then she whispered, "Mayor Alcott has been covering up violations for years. He has ties to contractors, developers and donors who profit from cutting corners. Your fiancé, his death wasn't just tragic." Rayner's stomach turned. Leah took a shaky breath. It was convenient. Rayner felt the floor beneath her tilt. "And Marcus?" she asked. "Marcus doesn't know the truth," Leah said. "He thinks he's protecting himself." "But the mayor? He's protecting something bigger." "What?" Rayner whispered. Leah stepped closer, eyes intense. "His power." Before Rayner could respond, a loud crash echoed from the front of the library. Both women froze. Miss Clare shouted, "Stop! Hey!" Someone was there. Someone looking for Rayner. Someone who didn't want her digging into old records. Leah grabbed her arm. "We have to go. Now." Chapter 15. Silas's Confession. Rayner's hands trembled as she closed the door to her apartment behind her. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Leah's words echoed in her mind like a warning bell. The mayor, the contractor, Colton, convenient death. Her stomach churned. Silas called 3 times. She ignored each one. Finally, he texted her. "Rayner, please, we need to talk." She considered ignoring it again. But something inside her whispered, "He deserves the truth too." She opened the door just as Silas arrived, breathless from rushing up the stairs. "Rayner, thank God," he said. "Are you okay? You left abruptly and didn't answer." "I know," she said softly. "I'm sorry." Silas stepped closer, searching her face. "What happened?" Rayner hesitated. Then she handed him the construction records she found. Silas scanned them. His expression slowly shifted from confusion to dread to disbelief. "Alcott." Silas whispered. "The mayor signed off on this." Rayner nodded. "And the contractor was tied to the fire." Silas raked a hand through his hair. "This can't be real." "It is," Rayner said. "And that's not all." She handed him the newspaper clipping from her nightstand. Silas froze. Colton left you a message, he whispered. He knew something. She nodded, tears forming. Silas stepped closer, voice breaking. Raina, I had no idea. If I had known. She looked at him sharply. Your company used the same contractor. He stiffened. Yes, he admitted quietly. Years ago. Before the fire. Before I took over operations. Raina backed away. So you knew? No, he said firmly. I suspected something wasn't right, but I didn't know it was connected to that fire. Her breath trembled. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to give you false hope, or reopen old wounds without certainty. Raina's eyes glistened with hurt. Silas, this was my life, my fiancé, my future, and someone destroyed it. I know, Silas said softly. And I'm so sorry. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then he whispered, I never wanted to hurt you. I care about you, Raina. More than I planned to. She inhaled sharply. The air shifted between them, warm, fragile, intimate. For the first time, it felt like they might kiss. But then, someone banged on her door. Hard. Both of them jumped. Silas whispered, Stay behind me. He opened the door slightly. A voice hissed from the hallway. Tell her to stop digging, or next time, we won't just leave warnings. The footsteps faded. Raina collapsed onto the couch, shaking violently. Silas knelt beside her. They're watching us, she whispered. They're watching everything. Silas cupped her face gently. Then, we stop hiding, he said. We find the truth. Together. Raina looked into his eyes. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone, but she also knew this was only the beginning. Chapter 16. The town's unseen hands. Raina wasn't sure what scared her more, the fact that someone had broken into her home, or the fact that the threat was now public. People knew she was digging. People were watching her, and worse, people cared enough to try to stop her. The next morning, as she walked into the office building, she felt dozens of eyes shift toward her. Conversations quieted. Papers rustled in awkward suspense. Even the coffee machine seemed louder than usual. The receptionist, Jenna, whispered to a co-worker, Why is she even here? Didn't you hear? Raina tried to ignore it. She made her way to her desk, opened her laptop, and pretended her hands weren't shaking. It wasn't long before Silas walked in. He looked tired, more tired than she'd ever seen him. The moment he caught her eye, he exhaled in relief. You made it in, barely, she replied with a weak smile. He stepped closer, voice low. The mayor called me this morning. Her stomach dropped. What? Why? Silas hesitated. He heard about the investigation into my company, and your involvement. Involvement? She echoed. He thinks you're stirring up trouble, Silas said. He asked if you were trustworthy. Raina flinched. What did you say? I told him you saved my son's life, Silas said without hesitation, and that anyone trying to smear you would have to answer to me. Her eyes softened. Silas. He took a deep breath. The mayor is more powerful than you think. He has the council, local media, even business owners in his pocket. If he wants to make you look like a problem, he can. Raina felt cold, like someone had poured ice water down her spine. Why does he care about me? She whispered. Silas's gaze darkened. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Before she could respond, the door swung open. Mayor Alcott himself walked in. Tall, polished, charismatic, the kind of man who smiled like a handshake. Well, he said. I thought I'd stop by to check on things. Silas straightened. Mayor Alcott, we weren't expecting you. Surprise visits are the best kind, Alcott smiled. His eyes landed on Raina. And you must be Miss Mercer. Raina's throat tightened. Yes, sir. I hear you had a complicated past, he said casually. Tragic, really. Fires, loss, traumas, and now you found yourself wrapped up in a financial scandal. Silas stepped in sharply. She's not wrapped up in anything. She's helping. Alcott's smile didn't fade. It simply became sharper, more calculated. Well, let's hope she knows her limits. Rayner felt the threat hidden in the politeness. Alcott adjusted his cufflinks. Silas, I'll need you to produce full transparency on your financials within the week. And if we don't? Silas asked. Alcott's eyes flickered toward Rayner. Well, he said softly, let's just say you don't want unnecessary complications. Then he left. Silas clenched his jaw. Rayner's breath shook, and from across the office, Marcus watched them both with a sly, satisfied smirk. Chapter 17. Leah's Gamble. That evening, Rayner waited outside the building as Silas wrapped up a meeting. She hugged her coat around her tightly, even though the temperature wasn't that cold. She felt exposed, seen in ways she didn't want to be seen. A familiar voice called out, "Bad day." Rayner turned to see Leah leaning against her car, holding 2 coffees, and wearing an expression somewhere between sympathy and exhaustion. "You're getting good at finding me," Rayner said. Leah smirked. "Your energy is like a magnet for chaos. Hard to miss." Rayner laughed softly. "That sounds about right." Leah sobered. "Listen, I heard the mayor stopped by." Rayner's stomach twisted. "He doesn't like me." "He doesn't like anyone who threatens his clean public image," Leah said. "And you, unfortunately, fall into that category now." "Why?" Rayner asked. "Why does he care? I'm just an office assistant. I have no power." Leah hesitated. Then she said carefully, "Because your past touches the one thing he can't afford to lose, control." Rayner frowned. "You keep saying that because it's true," Leah replied. Rayner stepped closer. "Leah, what do you know?" Leah took a deep breath. "More than I'm supposed to," she whispered. Then she reached into her bag and handed Rayner a folder. "What is this?" Rayner asked. "Proof that Marcus has been funneling money through side accounts," Leah said quietly. "He's been hiding funds from Silas for months." Rayner's eyes widened. "Why give this to me?" "Because," Leah said, voice trembling, "if the mayor controls Marcus, and Marcus controls the finances, then Silas is the one being set up, and I can't watch that happen." Rayner hesitated. "Why are you helping me?" she asked gently. Leah looked away. "Because I owe someone," she whispered. "Someone connected to the fire." Rayner's breath caught. "Who?" Leah closed her eyes. "I can't tell you. Not yet. It's too dangerous." Rayner felt frustration rise, but Leah placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know you want answers," Leah said, "but you have to trust me. I'm risking everything by giving you this file. If anyone finds out..." Her voice cracked slightly. "It won't be Marcus I'm worried about." Rayner's heart pounded. "What should I do with this?" she asked. "Show Silas," Leah said. "He needs to know who's sabotaging him." "And what about the mayor?" Rayner whispered. Leah's expression darkened. "Be careful around him, Rayner. He's not a man. He's a network." Rayner felt chills crawl up her arms. Leah stepped back, preparing to leave. "Wait," Rayner called. "Leah, what aren't you telling me?" Leah paused, then whispered, "Your fiancé's death wasn't an accident, and the mayor wasn't the only one involved." Before Rayner could ask anything more, Leah got into her car and drove off, leaving Rayner standing on the sidewalk, holding proof of corruption, and holding the first clear sign that Colton's death had never been random. Something was unraveling, and whoever started this thread 10 years ago wasn't done with her yet. Chapter 18. The fire reopened. Rayner sat at her kitchen table that night, papers spread across every surface. Financial statements, permit approvals, old newspaper clippings, Leah's stolen documents, everything pointed in the same direction. Marcus was embezzling funds, Mayor Alcott was covering up old construction violations, and someone connected the dots between Rayner's past and the mayor's network. She didn't know where to start unraveling it, but she knew where she had to go next. The Marlow Ridge Fire Department. The memory of the fire made her stomach twist, but she swallowed her fear and walked inside the small building near the edge of town. A retired firefighter named Wade Matthews, someone she barely remembered from years ago, was sitting alone at a desk. His eyes widened when he saw her. "You're Colton's girl," he whispered. Raina froze. The fact he recognized her at all shocked her. You remember me?" she asked. "Of course I do," Wade said softly. "We tried to get you both out of that building. We were too late for him, not for you." Raina swallowed hard. "I need to know what really happened that night," she said. "Please." Wade sighed heavily. "You won't like the answer." "Tell me anyway." He stood, walked to a file cabinet, and unlocked the bottom drawer. From inside, he pulled an old binder, dusty, worn, pages yellowed. The original fire report. The real one. Not the sanitized version she'd seen online. Wade placed it on the table. "Look at page 14. Raina's hands trembled as she opened it. Her eyes scanned the text. Then she froze. Page 14 contained a statement from a first responder who was never publicly named. It read, "The structural beams near the back entrance appeared deliberately weakened. The collapse was too rapid for an accidental fire." And, beneath it, a signature, barely legible. But Raina recognized it instantly. Leah's father. Raina's breath caught. Leah's father was at the fire. Wade nodded slowly. "He was the first one on scene. He tried to save Colton. He tried to save you." Raina felt her vision blur. "So he knew something," she whispered. "He knew too much," Wade corrected. "And after he filed this statement, he was pressured to retract it." "By who?" Raina demanded. Wade's jaw tightened. "By the mayor." Raina's entire body went cold. "Why?" she whispered. Wade hesitated. Then he said the words that shattered the last pieces of her understanding. "Because the mayor's younger brother owned that warehouse, and Colton was about to expose their illegal operations." The room spun. Raina grabbed the edge of the table to keep herself upright. "No," she whispered. "Colton wouldn't. He wasn't involved. He never." "He was investigating them, Raina," Wade said gently. "He found something the mayor needed to keep buried." Raina felt like she couldn't breathe. She clutched her chest, shaking. And then, outside, a car engine revved loudly. Wade looked toward the window. "Who's that?" A dark SUV accelerated straight toward the building. Raina's eyes widened. "Wade, move." She grabbed him, diving behind a desk, just as the SUV smashed into the front of the fire station, glass exploding everywhere. The impact shook the whole room. Debris flew. Dust filled the air. Someone tried to kill her. Again, Raina gasped, coughing, heart racing uncontrollably. Wade's voice trembled. "Raina, someone doesn't want you opening this case." She looked up, terrified, furious, trembling, and with absolute clarity, she whispered, "They won't stop until I expose everything." Chapter 19. Public Backlash. By the next morning, news of the SUV crash at the fire station had spread across Marlow Ridge like wildfire. People talked. People speculated. People whispered, as if the truth might hear them. Raina stood outside the office building, shaking slightly as she clutched her bag. She hadn't slept. She hadn't eaten. Her entire body felt like it was vibrating from leftover adrenaline. When she entered the office, the room fell silent. Not just quiet, hostile. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Papers froze in people's hands. Two interns stared openly before quickly looking away. Jenna, the receptionist, leaned toward her coworker and murmured loudly enough for Raina to hear, "She's trouble. First a fire years ago, now a car crash. Everywhere she goes, chaos follows." Her coworker whispered back, "I heard she's involved in that old warehouse scandal. My husband says the mayor is warning people." Raina clenched her jaw and headed inside. She didn't want attention. She didn't want fear. She didn't want any of this. She just wanted answers. Silas appeared moments later, hurrying toward her with worry etched across his face. "Raina, what happened? I heard about the crash." "Are you hurt?" Raina shook her head. Just shaken. Silas reached out like he wanted to hold her hands, but stopped himself. I'm so sorry you're going through this. If I had known any of this would happen. It's not your fault, she said quickly, but she could see it in his eyes. He felt responsible anyway. Before they could talk further, Marcus emerged from his office, smiling like he'd just won something. Well, Marcus drawled loudly. Looks like danger follows you everywhere, Miss Mercer. Silas snapped. Marcus, that's enough. Marcus raised his eyebrows. Oh? Are we not allowed to talk about the SUV that crashed into a public building last night? Because that sounds pretty relevant to me. Rayna's stomach twisted. Unless, Marcus continued, there's something you're not telling us, Rayna. Silas stepped forward, furious. Marcus, touch her again verbally or otherwise, I swear. Careful, Marcus smirked. The mayor doesn't appreciate employees who threaten colleagues. The mayor, always the mayor. Suddenly, an employee who rarely spoke approached Rayna nervously. I'm sorry to bother you, she whispered, but there's something outside you should see. Rayna followed her to the front windows. Her breath caught. Spray painted across the side of the building were the words, liar, fire starter, GET out. Gasps filled the office. Silas cursed under his breath. Who would do this? Marcus crossed his arms. Small towns don't like secrets, Silas, and she's drowning in them. Rayna felt tears sting her eyes. She turned away, and that's when she saw him. Drew. He stood in the hallway holding a small lunch bag, staring at the graffiti with wide, horrified eyes. His voice shook. Who did that to Rayna? Silas knelt beside him. Drew, don't look at that. But Drew stepped forward, fists clenched, tears in his eyes. That's not true. Rayna isn't a liar. She saved me. She's good. Rayna froze. Her heart cracked. She knelt down, meeting his eyes. Hey, it's okay. No, it's not. Drew cried. People shouldn't be mean to you. He hugged her tightly, right there, in front of everyone. The office fell into stunned silence. Even Marcus faltered. Rayna held Drew gently, tears slipping down her cheeks. For a moment, just a moment, she felt seen. Then Drew whispered, "Please don't leave us." The words hit her like a blow, and before she could respond, Silas gently pulled Drew back, lowering his voice. "Buddy, let's give Rayna some space, okay?" Rayna wiped her face, forcing a trembling smile. But inside, a storm raged. How much more could she take? How long before the town broke her completely? Chapter 20. Silas's world cracks. That afternoon, Silas had an emergency meeting with his legal team. Rayna wasn't supposed to be in the room, but he insisted. "I trust her," he said simply. The lawyer, a stern woman named Marjorie Green, looked unimpressed. "There's something you should see," she said, handing Silas a folder. Rayna watched his expression twist from surprise to disbelief to anger. "What is this?" Silas demanded. "An anonymous report," Marjorie said, "filed with the State Business Oversight Commission. It claims you embezzled funds, manipulated taxes, and hired undocumented workers." Silas almost dropped the papers. "That's insane. I've never—" Marjorie held up a hand. "Someone provided forged documents. Good ones." Marcus-level good. Rayna stiffened. Silas looked up sharply. "You think Marcus filed this?" "I think Marcus prepared it," Marjorie said. "But I doubt he acted alone." Rayna's stomach dropped as Mayor Alcott's face flashed in her mind. Why would they do this? Silas whispered. "To destabilize your company," Marjorie said. "To create chaos, to push you out of power. And maybe," she glanced at Rayna, "to silence someone who was beginning to ask the wrong questions." Rayna froze. "This is about me," she whispered. Marjorie didn't answer. Silas did. "It's about both of us," he said. His voice wasn't gentle this time. It was scared and angry. He sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. "I knew Marcus was difficult," Silas muttered. I knew he disagreed with me on expansion plans, but I didn't think he'd sabotage the entire company. Rayna's heart ached. He wasn't just a CEO fighting for his business. He was a father fighting to protect stability for his son. She stepped closer. Silas, I never wanted this to happen. He looked up at her, and for the first time in days, he looked fragile. I don't blame you, he whispered. But his eyes said something else. Everything is breaking, and I don't know how to stop it. Before Rayna could respond, Marjorie spoke again. There's more. Silas closed his eyes, bracing himself. Of course there is. She placed another folder on the table. This arrived this morning, a formal letter from the mayor's office. He's requesting full access to your financial records, immediately. Silas slammed his hand on the table. No. He's crossing a line. Marjorie gave him a grim look. The mayor doesn't ask for permission, Silas. He only informs people of his decisions. Rayna felt her blood run cold. Silas turned toward her. This is bigger than my company, he said. This is about him controlling the entire town, and anyone who threatens his control, Rayna whispered. Silas nodded. The room went quiet. Too quiet. Then, unexpectedly, Silas said the one thing Rayna wasn't prepared for. You might have to stop helping me, Rayna. She froze. Silas, what? I don't want you in danger, he said. His voice cracked. Your past, your trauma, everything you've been through, it's being used against you, against us. Her chest tightened. What are you saying? She whispered. Silas took a painful breath. I'm saying, maybe it's safer if you distance yourself, just until we figure this out. Silas looked broken saying it. But Rayna felt shattered. The man who told her she wasn't alone now feared standing beside her. She swallowed hard, nodding slowly. If that's what you want, she whispered. It's what I need to keep you safe, he said softly. But it didn't feel like protection. It felt like abandonment. Chapter 21. The Hidden Mastermind. Rayna walked home alone that night. Cold wind, empty streets, loneliness clinging to her like wet clothing. She didn't blame Silas, not truly, but the pain cut deep anyway. Being pushed away for her own protection was something she had heard before. Her mother said it. Her old professors said it. Even Colton said it once before he died. Each time someone tried to protect her, she ended up alone. She climbed the steps to her apartment, unlocked the door, and stepped inside quietly. The silence pressed against her. She sat on the floor, pulling Colton's picture from her bag. I don't know what to do, she whispered into the dark. I don't know who to trust. The room stayed silent. Then her phone buzzed. A blocked number. A text message. She opened it. Stop digging into the fire. This is your final warning. Her heart dropped. Another message came through, this time with a photo attached. A picture of her at the library the night she and Leah searched through construction permits. Her hands trembled violently. Someone had been there, watching, recording. She sank onto the floor, shaking. A third message came. If you continue, the next accident won't be a warning. Tears streamed down her face. Who was doing this? Why were they so determined to silence her? What did they think she knew? She buried her face in her hands. Moments later, a soft knock echoed from the door. Her blood ran cold. She didn't move. The knock came again, gentle, cautious. Rayna? A voice whispered. She recognized it instantly. Leah. Rayna opened the door, still trembling. Leah stepped in, eyes widening at her expression. What happened? Are you hurt? Rayna handed her the phone. Leah read the messages, her face draining of color. Oh God, Leah whispered. This is bad. This is really bad. Rayna choked out. Who is doing this? Why do they care so much about something from years ago? Leah looked torn, like she was holding back a truth she wasn't allowed to say. Rayna, she said quietly, listen to me. There are people in this town who believe controlling the narrative is the same as protecting the town. And you survived something you weren't supposed to. Rayna's voice cracked. Who? Who wants me gone? Leah swallowed hard. Her voice trembled. The person running all of this isn't Marcus. And it isn't the contractor. Raina froze. Then who? She asked. Leah hesitated, then whispered, The mayor isn't working alone. Raina's heart pounded. Who else? She demanded. Leah's expression tightened. Then she said the words that mark the first major twist. Someone close to Silas is involved. The world tilted. Raina whispered, No. That can't be true. Leah held her gaze. Someone who knows both of you. Someone who benefits if Silas falls. And if you disappear. Raina felt her breath catch. No, she repeated. Who? Tell me who? Leah looked at her with haunted eyes. Then whispered, I think it's someone Silas trusts. And I think they're using Marcus as a pawn. Raina felt the floor fall away beneath her. Someone close to Silas. Someone inside the circle. Someone who had access to everything. Her mind raced. Who? 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 Leah grabbed her shoulders. Raina, listen to me. Things are going to get worse. You're close to something. And whoever we're dealing with, they're terrified you're going to expose them. Raina swallowed painfully. Why me? She whispered. Leah's voice softened into something heartbreaking. Because you're the only survivor who knows the truth still exists. The chapter ends with Raina standing in her dim apartment, holding her phone with trembling hands, and realizing the danger isn't just out there. It's close, very close, wrapped in someone's smile. Chapter 22. Raina fights back. Raina had reached her breaking point. She wasn't the same woman who arrived in Marlow Ridge weeks ago. That woman hoped to blend in quietly, survive quietly, heal quietly. But quiet hadn't protected her. Quiet had almost gotten her killed. Twice. Tonight, something shifted in her. A fire sparked. A decision. If they wanted her gone so badly, she needed to find out why. And she needed to do it before they succeeded. She gathered every file Leah had given her, plus everything she'd found in the archives and at the fire station. Papers littered her kitchen floor. Strings of connections spun themselves in her mind. Olcott and Sons, the warehouse, fire code violations, covered up. Marcus, embezzlement plus forged signatures. Silas's company, unknowingly tied to the contractor. Leah's father, first responder whose real report was suppressed. Anonymous warnings. Too precise to be random. SUV crash. Not an accident. Everything pointed to one terrifying truth. Someone orchestrated the entire cover-up. Someone still active. Someone desperate. Someone in Silas's circle. Her phone buzzed. A message from Silas. Can we talk tonight? Please. I'm worried about you. Raina stared at the screen for a long moment. He meant well, she knew that. But every conversation with him lately reopened wounds instead of healing them. She typed, tomorrow, then put the phone face down. If she talked to Silas tonight, she'd lose focus. If she saw Drew, she'd lose resolve. And she needed both more than ever. She stepped into the cold night and headed toward the one person who could help her now. Wade, the retired firefighter. He opened the door a moment after she knocked, eyes tired but kind. You should be resting. I can't, Raina said. Wade stepped aside, letting her in. She spread the files across his table. Something connected the mayor, the contractor, and the fire, she said. And someone is still trying to bury it. Someone who knew exactly who I was when I stepped into town. Wade nodded grimly. I've suspected for years, he said. But I didn't have proof. You do now, Raina said. Wade leaned forward, scanning the documents. His jaw tightened. This isn't just a cover-up, he whispered. This is conspiracy-level corruption. Raina swallowed. And it cost Colton his life. Wade looked at her, voice heavy. Raina. Colton didn't die because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He died because he uncovered something powerful men were willing to do anything to protect. Her hands shook. Wade hesitated. There's one person who might know the missing piece. Raina's heart thudded. Who? Wade exhaled. Leah. Raina froze. Leah? She repeated. Why? Leah. Wade closed the binder. Because her father wasn't the only one at that fire. She was there too. Raina's breath caught. She was there. She never told me. She was a kid, Wade said. But she saw enough to know her father feared for his life after filing his report. Raina felt the room spin. If Leah knows what her father saw, she whispered. Then she knows the identity of the person behind the cover-up, Wade said quietly. That meant Leah had been protecting her, but Leah also knew more than she was saying. And that secret could either save Raina or destroy her. Raina stood suddenly, adrenaline flooding her veins. I need to talk to her. Not alone, Wade warned. I don't have a choice. She grabbed the files and headed for the door, but just as she stepped outside, a bullet hit the street 3 feet in front of her. Concrete exploded. She stumbled backward, heart seizing. Wade shouted, dragging her inside. The shooter's car peeled away. Raina collapsed onto the floor, shaking violently. Wade locked the door, breathing hard. That wasn't a warning shot, he said. They're not trying to scare you anymore. Raina's eyes filled with tears. They're trying to kill me. Chapter 23, Town Hall Showdown. By the next morning, Marlow Ridge buzzed with tension. A town hall meeting had been scheduled. Public transparency, the mayor claimed. But everyone knew the real reason. The mayor wanted to control the narrative and destroy Raina before she destroyed him. Raina stepped inside the crowded hall with Wade and, unexpectedly, Leah, who had insisted on coming despite her visible fear. I found something last night, Leah whispered. A file my father kept hidden. You need to see it. Later, Raina said. Right now, we need to hear what the mayor says. Silas spotted her from across the room, relief flashing in his eyes. But she didn't walk to him. Not yet. He looked hurt. But he understood. Mayor Alcott stepped onto the podium, smiling the smile of a man who believed everyone was beneath him. Citizens of Marlow Ridge, he began. There have been disturbing rumors about our community. Rumors of corruption, danger, and accusations without evidence. He glanced at Raina. The crowd did too. Some individuals, he continued, have chosen to stir chaos. They claim a tragic fire from 10 years ago was a conspiracy. Murmurs rippled. Raina felt her breath tighten. Silas stood abruptly. That's enough. Mayor Alcott ignored him. These false claims, Alcott said, have now escalated into violence. A crash at the fire station, graffiti defacing public buildings, anonymous letters. And who is at the center of it all? His finger pointed, slowly, deliberately, at Raina. The room gasped. Miss Mercer, he said, seems to attract trouble wherever she goes. Raina stood slowly, voice trembling but resolute. I don't attract trouble. I survived it. Silence fell. She stepped forward. Mayor Alcott. You signed permits for a building that violated safety codes. A building that collapsed and killed my fiancée. Gasps. People turned toward the mayor. Alcott's smile faltered. Just a flicker. That's a bold accusation, he said. I have proof. Raina lifted a folder. Leah stepped beside her, placing her hand over Raina's on the folder. Her voice was steady. My father filed the original fire report, the one you suppressed. The mayor paled. You're lying. Wade stood. No, she's not. The room exploded with whispers. Silas stepped forward. Mayor Alcott, he said. Did you or did you not personally approve emergency modifications to the warehouse days before the fire? Alcott stuttered. That paperwork must be forged. Raina held up the original copies. These aren't forged. You obtained those illegally, Alcott snapped. Raina stared at him coldly. No, Mr. Mayor, I found them in the public archives, where you forgot to hide them. More gasps. A councilwoman whispered loudly, Is this true? Alcott's mask cracked. Completely. You don't understand, he snapped. People like her. People like who? Raina demanded. Alcott froze. People who don't know when to stay silent, he finished. Silas shouted, "Is that why someone tried to kill her last night?" The room erupted. What? Is that true? Who tried to kill her? Alcott panicked. I don't know what you're talking about. Rayner stepped forward, voice breaking. You wanted the truth buried. Because if the town knew your brother's company cut corners, approved illegal modifications, and caused a fire that killed an innocent man, your career would be over. Alcott's face turned red. Enough. But then, a voice from the back of the room cut through everything. He's not the only one involved. Everyone turned. Marcus stepped forward, smirking, but not proudly, fearfully. Silas looked sick. Marcus, what did you do? Marcus swallowed hard. I didn't plan the fire, he said. But the mayor paid me, for years, to manage financial records in ways that kept certain secrets quiet. Silas stared at him, betrayed. And the threats to Rayner? Silas asked angrily. Marcus shook his head fast. No, that wasn't me. I swear. I just handled numbers. I didn't touch her. The mayor shouted, "Stop talking, Marcus." But it was too late. Marcus's voice cracked. He's not the mastermind. He's just the face. The hall fell silent. Every heart stopped. Rayner whispered, "Then, who is the mastermind?" Marcus stared at her, then turned his gaze toward someone behind Silas. The crowd parted. Rayner's heart pounded. Her breath froze. The mastermind wasn't the mayor, not the contractor, not Marcus. It was Silas's own financial advisor, Gregory Vale. Rayner's stomach dropped. Leah grabbed her arm. Silas's face drained of color. Gregory stepped forward slowly, calm, cold, collected. "Hello, Rayner," he said, and she realized she had seen him before, not in this lifetime, not in this context. At the fire station years ago, in the background, talking to the contractor. Her blood turned to ice. Silas whispered, horrified, "Gregory, what did you do?" Gregory smiled. "Only what was necessary." Chapter 24. Unmasking the Mastermind. The town hall erupted in chaos. People shouted. Council members froze. Police officers stepped forward in confusion. Gregory Vale stood perfectly still, not running, not panicking, almost smug. "Why?" Silas choked out. "Why would you do any of this?" Gregory tilted his head, smiling faintly. "You were expanding too quickly," he said. "Too generously, too naively. A business empire can't function with ethics alone, Silas." Silas stared in disbelief. "You destroyed lives." Gregory shrugged. "Collateral damage." Rayner trembled with fury. "You helped cause the fire," she whispered. "You aided the cover-up. You threatened me. You tried to kill me." Gregory's eyes flicked to her. "You were a loose thread that never should have resurfaced," he said calmly. "If you had died in that fire, everything would have been simpler." Gasps rippled across the hall. Silas lunged, but officers grabbed him. Gregory continued. "The mayor wanted silence. Marcus wanted power. I wanted profit. Our interests aligned beautifully. Until you returned." Rayner's hands shook. "Why target me?" She cried. "Why not let me live my life quietly?" Gregory's tone remained chillingly calm. "Because you saw something you weren't supposed to." Rayner froze. "What?" she whispered. Gregory smiled. "You weren't just a victim in that fire. You were a witness." Her breath stopped. Gregory stepped closer. "You saw who started it, Rayner. You just don't remember." "Yet," Silas shouted, "don't listen to him. He's manipulating you." Gregory laughed softly. "Oh, she remembers. Trauma doesn't erase everything. It just buries it until the right moment." Rayner's vision blurred as memories flickered. Lights. Smoke. Yelling. A silhouette. A man arguing with another man. Colton shouting her name. Her knees weakened. She grabbed the table for balance. Gregory's voice slithered through the hall. "You saw me." And you lived. That was your mistake. Suddenly, police officers stepped in and handcuffed Gregory. He didn't resist. He simply smiled. You think this ends with me? He whispered. It doesn't. As he was escorted out, he turned to Silas. I protected your company for years, Silas. Without me, you'll drown. Silas's face contorted with pain, betrayal, rage. He whispered, Get him out of my sight. The hall's noise faded into a dull roar. Raina felt her legs give out. Silas rushed to catch her. Raina, breathe. Look at me. She sobbed into his chest. It's my fault, she choked. If I hadn't survived, none of this would have happened. Silas held her tightly. Stop, don't you ever say that. This isn't your fault. None of it. But Raina couldn't hear him. All she heard was Gregory's last words. You saw me. The chapter ends with Raina collapsing emotionally, Silas holding her close, the town reeling, the truth finally cracking open. But the danger? Far from over. Chapter 25. When the dust settles. The aftermath of Gregory's arrest didn't feel like victory. It felt like shock. Cold, suffocating shock. Marlow Ridge buzzed with speculation. Rumors, accusations, fear, disbelief. Some people defended the mayor. Some condemned him. Some whispered that the fire case from 10 years ago needed reopening. But Raina? She couldn't process any of it. She spent the night curled in bed, knees pulled to her chest, lights off, unable to close her eyes without hearing Gregory's voice. You saw me. Every time she tried to sleep, nightmares dragged her back into the flames. Colton's scream, smoke, heat, shadows on the wall, figures arguing, a metallic smell, a crash, a man's silhouette turning toward her. She woke, gasping, convincing herself she had no tears left until more escaped anyway. Her phone buzzed. Silas, please let me come by. Just to check on you. She stared at the screen. She wanted to see him. She wanted comfort. But right now, she felt too broken to offer anything back. She typed, Not tonight. Silas didn't push. But an hour later, a text came again. I'll leave dinner outside your door. You don't have to open it. And he did. Raina listened to his footsteps fade, heart aching. He cared, truly. And that terrified her, because she was beginning to care too, dangerously too much. The next morning, she forced herself out of bed. She cleaned, showered, dressed. Forget normalcy. She just needed motion. Movement meant she wasn't stuck in the past, but the ache inside her wouldn't ease. Her mind spiraled. If she truly had seen Gregory that night, why didn't she remember fully? What had Colton found? Why were they all so certain she was a threat now? What unfinished business tied her to that fire? At 10:27 a.m., her door knocked. She assumed it was Silas again. She opened the door. But it wasn't Silas. It was Drew, standing there alone, clutching a little bag, eyes watery. Raina? He said softly. She gasped and knelt immediately. Drew, sweetie, where's your dad? How did you get here? I walked, he whispered. You walked? From your house? Drew. He nodded. I had to. Dad's sad. You're sad. And when people who care about each other are sad at the same time, that's bad. Her chest tightened. He stepped forward and hugged her neck, trembling a little. Please don't leave us, he whispered. Raina felt something inside her break open. Not in pain, but in longing. She held him tightly, trying not to cry, failing. I'm not leaving, she whispered. I'm just figuring things out. Drew pulled back. He reached into his little bag and handed Raina a folded paper. What's this? She asked gently. I found it in Dad's office, he said. It looked important, and it has the same little circle stamp you showed me the other day. Raina blinked. Circle stamp, the same one she saw on the old construction file. The same one she saw on the corner of Drew's note earlier that week. Her heart thudded. She unfolded the paper and froze. It was a maintenance report. Not from Davenport Logistics, but from the warehouse 10 years ago. A pre-inspection note, signed by Gregory Vale. Her breath hitched. Drew whispered, "Is that bad?" Rayna hugged him again. "You just helped more than you know," she whispered. Drew sniffled. "Are you still mad at Dad?" "I'm not mad," she said softly. "Just overwhelmed. Dad cries when he thinks you don't like him anymore." Her breath caught. Rayna steadied herself. "Let's get you home," she whispered. But as she closed her apartment door behind her, clutching the new document, she realized Gregory was at the warehouse before the fire. He didn't just cover up the aftermath. He facilitated what happened. And that meant Colton's death was even less accidental than she thought. Chapter 26. Leah's Final Truth. When Rayna arrived at Silas's house with Drew, Silas opened the door immediately, panic fading only when he saw his son was okay. "Drew, where have you been?" Drew ran into his arms. "I went to see Rayna," he said. "I had to." Silas closed his eyes, hugging him tightly. When he looked up at Rayna, emotion flickered across his face. Joy, pain, relief, longing. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I told him not to wander. He did the right thing coming to me," Rayna whispered. Silas's breath caught. He stepped aside. "Come in." She did. The house was warm, comforting, smelling faintly of cinnamon and cedar. She felt safe just standing there, and that scared her. Before she could say more, another voice came from the kitchen. "Rayna." Leah stepped out, hair tied back, expression tense but hopeful. "I've been trying to reach you," Leah said. "We need to talk." Now. Silas hesitated. "Should the first—" "No," Leah said. "You should hear this too." She gestured for them to sit. Rayna sat slowly, anxiety coiling in her stomach. Leah inhaled deeply. "I didn't tell you everything about the fire. Rayna already sensed this." Leah continued. "I wasn't just nearby that night. I was inside the warehouse. Rayna's blood ran cold." "What?" she whispered. Silas froze. "My father took me with him for a safety check," Leah said quietly. "I wasn't supposed to see anything, but I did." Her hands shook. "I saw two men arguing. One was Gregory. The other wore a coat with the contractor's logo." Rayna's heartbeat quickened. Gregory was shouting at him. Leah continued. "This place won't hold," he said. "If he files the report, we're finished." Silas leaned forward. "He meaning Colton?" Leah nodded. "They saw him as a threat. He was going to expose everything. My father overheard. He realized the structure wasn't safe, so he told us to leave." Leah wiped her eyes. "But I forgot my backpack. I ran back inside, and when I did, I heard them discussing setting a controlled burn to destroy records and evidence." Rayna's stomach twisted violently. Controlled burn. A fire meant to erase proof. "But it spread out of control," Leah whispered. "It wasn't supposed to collapse the whole structure. It wasn't supposed to kill anyone." They panicked. Rayna whispered, "Colton didn't die in an accident. He died because he stood up for what was right," Leah said. Silas put a hand over his mouth, horrified. Leah looked at Rayna with guilt heavy in her eyes. "My father tried to save him," she whispered. "He tried to save both of you. But when he filed the real report, the mayor's people threatened him. They forced him silence. That guilt, it broke him." Rayna felt tears spill over. Leah whispered, "I tried to protect you because he couldn't." The room went silent. Heartbreaking, truth-filled silence. Silas reached for Rayna's hand. She let him take it. For a moment, it felt like healing. But then, Leah hesitated again. "There's something else." Rayna stiffened. Leah swallowed. Gregory wasn't acting alone. Silas whispered, "Who else?" Leah looked at Rayna with devastating sadness. The fire didn't start accidentally. And Gregory wasn't the one who lit the match. Raina's breath faltered. Leah whispered. The one who ignited the fire was the contractor's nephew. Raina frowned. Why is that important? Leah continued. Because the contractor's nephew wasn't alone either. Someone was with him. Who? Raina asked. Leah's eyes glistened. She whispered. Your fiancé wasn't the only target that night. Silas whispered. What are you saying? Leah's voice cracked. They wanted you gone too, Raina. Chapter 27. Colton's last message. Raina walked home that night in a fog. Leah's confession reverberated in her skull. They wanted you gone too. You were meant to die in that fire. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Her breath hitched. Everything she believed about her past, about Colton, about survival, about trauma, was shifting, twisting, collapsing under the weight of truth. She entered her apartment mechanically, closed the door, locked it twice. Then she walked straight to her old backpack, the one she had carried through shelters, through alleyways, through the worst years of her life. Inside was her journal, the one she'd written in every day until she couldn't bear it anymore. She flipped to the last entry she ever wrote before the fire, but something fell out, a folded sheet she had never seen. Her breath caught. It was Colton's handwriting. Her heart stopped. She opened it carefully, hands trembling. It read, Raina, if you find this, it means something went wrong. Please don't panic. Please remember this. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I need you to be strong. I've discovered something dangerous about the contractor's renovation plans. Something big, bigger than either of us realized. I'm meeting someone tonight who can explain more. If anything happens, go to Wade. He knows where the real reports are. Trust Leah's father. He's not part of this. He tried to warn me. Whatever you hear, whatever they say, the fire wasn't your fault. I'm going to fight this. For us. For everyone who could be hurt if we stay silent. But if I don't make it back, promise me you'll finish what I started. Promise me you'll live. Colton. Raina sank to the floor, clutching the letter to her chest, sobbing in a way she hadn't sobbed in years. He knew. He tried to warn her. He never abandoned her. He never blamed her. He fought for truth until his last breath. Her entire body trembled. Her tears soaked the letter, and for the first time, the weight she'd carried for a decade cracked open, because the message wasn't just a clue. It was closure. It was love. It was purpose. She whispered into the quiet, I promise, Colton. I'll finish it. I won't run anymore. And then, her phone buzzing shattered the silence. A text message, blocked number. We know you have the letter. Her blood ran cold. Another message. Act now, or we end this for you. Raina looked up, eyes burning with new fire. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She whispered, Come find me. Chapter 28. Choosing the fire. For the first time in years, Raina didn't feel like she was running away from something. She was walking toward the truth. Her legs shook with adrenaline as she left her apartment, Colton's letter safely inside her coat. The words echoed in her mind. Finish what I started. She walked with purpose, head high, heart racing but steady. Everything inside her felt awake. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was fighting. On her way to Davenport Logistics, she felt eyes on her again. Same cold, stares, same whispered rumors. But something in her no longer flinched. Let them whisper. Let them fear her truth. She stepped into the building to find chaos unfolding. Employees whispered loudly. Papers rustled frantically. Phones rang non-stop. Then she saw why. Mayor Alcott was pacing inside Silas's office, red-faced and furious. Through the glass walls, Raina could see him gesturing wildly, shouting about damage control and public image. Silas stood across from him, arms crossed, jaw tight, every line of his body radiating fury. Raina stepped closer. The mayor's voice boomed through the door. "You're ruining this entire town, Silas. Your incompetence is destroying us." Silas's voice rose, calm but lethal. "You don't get to lecture me about integrity, Alcott. Not after everything you've done." Alcott slammed a fist on the desk. "I've done nothing but protect this community. By burying the truth." Silas shot back. "By letting Gregory manipulate our finances? By threatening a woman who saved my son's life?" Rayner opened the door then. Both men turned. Silas looked stunned for a brief second, relieved, worried, breathless, before regaining composure. The mayor's face twisted. "You," Rayner stepped forward. "No more threats. No more lies. Colton left me a letter. He left evidence. And I'm not hiding anymore." A hush fell across the entire office. Alcott narrowed his eyes. "You think you have any idea what you're dealing with?" "I know exactly what I'm dealing with," Rayner said quietly. "A corrupt network, terrified of a decade-old truth." Silas's chest rose with pride, his eyes locking on hers, filled with admiration and something deeper. "Ms. Mercer," Alcott hissed. "You're playing with fire." Rayner stepped closer. "I lived through one fire," she whispered. "I won't die in another." Silas's breath hitched. The line hit him hard. Alcott stared between them, something calculating shifting behind his eyes. "This isn't over," the mayor said. "It is for you," Rayner replied. The mayor stormed out, pushing past employees who pretended not to watch. Silas exhaled deeply once he was gone. "You didn't have to confront him," he whispered. "Yes," Rayner replied softly. "I did." Silas stepped toward her, eyes softening. "You're stronger than you realize." "And I'm tired of being afraid," she said. Silas's voice cracked slightly. "I'm proud of you." For a moment, a still, warm moment, it felt like the space between them could close. But Rayner stepped back first, not because she didn't want him, because she wasn't done fighting yet. Chapter 29. Drew the Little Light. That evening, Silas insisted on driving Rayner home, not in a protective, patronizing way, but because he cared deeply. On the drive, neither spoke much. There was tension, unspoken confessions, and a weight neither knew how to carry. Silas walked her to the door. "Rayner, I want to help," he said quietly. "Not because I feel obligated, because I—" She gently stopped him with a breathy laugh. "Silas, we're in the middle of exposing corruption. Let's figure out if we survive this first." Silas chuckled sadly. "You're right," but his eyes said something his words didn't. "I'm falling for you, even if it ruins me." Before either could speak again, the front door of Silas's car swung open. Drew, sleepy-eyed, holding a stuffed bear, wearing tiny dinosaur pajamas. "Dad, I couldn't sleep," he mumbled. Silas sighed softly. "Buddy, you were supposed to stay in the car." But Drew walked straight to Rayner, stopped in front of her, and held out his bear. "For you," Drew said quietly. Rayner blinked. "For me?" Drew nodded, voice trembling. "Because last night Dad said you were really sad, and when I'm sad, hugs help." Rayner felt her heart crack open. "But Drew, your bear, he's brave," Drew whispered. "And he protects people. He'll protect you." Tears welled instantly. This little boy, this tiny bright piece of Silas, was handing her his most precious possession. She knelt and hugged him tightly, crying into his little shoulder. Drew hugged her back just as tightly. "Please don't go away," he whispered. "I like when you're here. Dad likes when you're here. We need you." Silas swallowed hard, emotion flashing across his face. Rayner hugged Drew again. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. "I promise." And she meant it. When they finally parted, Drew yawned and leaned into Silas. Rayner smiled warmly. "Get him home. He's exhausted." Silas nodded, brushing Drew's hair gently. "Yes. And thank you." "For what?" "For giving him hope," Silas said softly. "And for giving me hope, too." Rayner swallowed. Silas hesitated, like he wanted to kiss her, but he didn't. Not yet. He walked Drew back to the car. Raina stood on her porch, clutching the little stuffed bear, heart overflowing. For the first time in a decade, she felt loved. Not romantically, not fully yet, but truly, deeply cared for. And that alone gave her strength for what came next. Chapter 30. The real enemy steps forward. The next morning, Raina marched into Davenport Logistics with a new fire in her step. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't apologizing. She was ready to burn down the conspiracy that tried to bury her. She walked directly to Marcus's office. He panicked the moment he saw her. "Haven't I suffered enough?" he muttered. "Your crusade already got Gregory arrested." Raina shut the door behind her. "Marcus," she said firmly, "I need names." He scoffed. "Names? For what?" "For everyone involved in covering up the warehouse fire." Marcus's expression shifted. Not guilt. Fear. "I can't," he whispered. "They'll kill me." Raina leaned forward. "They already tried to kill me. I'm not scared anymore." Marcus swallowed hard. "You don't understand. Gregory wasn't the mastermind." "I know," Raina said. "Leah told me that." Marcus shook his head violently. "No, you don't know who you're dealing with. You think the mayor is dangerous? He's nothing." Raina frowned. "Then who?" A voice answered behind her. "Me." Raina spun around. Her blood froze. Standing in the doorway was the mayor's older brother, the true owner of the warehouse, the man Colton was investigating, the man Gregory answered to. His name, Byron Olcott, dressed in immaculate clothes, expression icy, presence terrifying. He stepped into the office casually, closing the door behind him. Marcus shrank into his chair. Raina's pulse pounded. Byron smiled politely. "You've caused quite the mess, Miss Mercer." Raina felt the air evaporate. He continued, "I admired your fiancé, actually. Smart, determined, moral to a fault, a cold smile. Unfortunately, he didn't know when to stop." Raina clenched her fists. Byron stepped closer. "And you're even more dangerous than he was. Persistent, emotional, principled." Raina backed up slowly. Byron whispered, "Those qualities get people killed." Her throat tightened. Marcus cowered. Byron reached into his coat. Raina's stomach dropped. Time slowed. She braced herself, but Byron didn't pull out a weapon. He pulled out her phone. Her breath caught. "How?" Byron smiled. "You shouldn't trust cloud backups, Raina, and you shouldn't leave your apartment unsecured." Her heart thudded. Byron showed her the screen. A message thread. "Private. Between Leah and Raina." Byron whispered, "I know everything." He stepped closer. "But don't worry. I won't kill you yet." Raina's breath trembled. He leaned in, voice smooth as ice. "You'll die when the town believes it was your fault." Raina froze. Byron smiled wider. "And tonight, we start with the first move." "What move?" Raina whispered. Byron reached into his coat again. This time, pulling out a matchbox, covered in a familiar logo, the same contractor from the warehouse fire. Byron whispered, "History has a way of repeating itself." He flicked the matchbox closed. Marcus watched, horrified. Raina's heart pounded violently. Byron stepped back toward the door. "Oh, and do tell Silas I said hello," he added calmly. Then, he locked the office door from the outside, trapping Raina and Marcus inside. Smoke began seeping under the door. Marcus screamed. Raina lunged for the window. Byron Olcott had set the building on fire, and this time, he didn't intend for her to survive. Chapter 31. The second fire. Smoke seeped under the door like a living creature, curling upward in ghostly tendrils. Raina coughed, stumbling backward as panic slammed through her. "No, no, no," she choked. Marcus pressed against the wall, trembling uncontrollably. "He's going to burn us alive," Marcus whispered. "Just like he tried to before." "Marcus," Raina snapped. "Help me." She grabbed a chair and slammed it into the window. Once, twice, 3 times. The glass cracked but didn't shatter. Marcus sobbed. He locked us in again. Raina grabbed his shoulders. Marcus, look at me. You were part of this, yes. But you're not dying here. Not now. Help me. Something in him clicked. He wiped his face, nodded stiffly, then grabbed a metal coat rack and swung it into the window. The frame shook violently. Again, Raina yelled. He swung again. Again. The smoke grew thicker, hot, suffocating. The window finally burst open, shards scattering outward onto the parking lot several stories below. Marcus stared, horrified. We're too high. Raina scanned the office. Her eyes caught on a set of cable wiring on a shelf. She grabbed it, tying it into a makeshift rope. Marcus shook his head. That won't hold us. It doesn't have to hold long, Raina said. Just enough to get away from the fire. Flames were now visible beneath the door. The room was suffocating. Raina threw the cable down the window frame. She turned to Marcus. You first. Marcus blinked. What? No, I can't. You can, she insisted. Go. Marcus hesitated, then crawled onto the window ledge, gripping the cable. He looked down, terrified. Raina, I'm sorry, for everything. She nodded firmly. We talk about that later. Climb. Marcus sucked in a shaky breath and began lowering himself. The cable strained. He slipped once. Marcus, Raina shouted. He steadied himself. Fire exploded through the door behind her. She coughed violently, eyes watering, lungs burning. Marcus yelled from below. It's your turn. She looked back at the flames. They roared like a monster awakened. Raina grabbed the cable, but the wall behind her cracked loudly. A burning beam collapsed. She screamed as the impact knocked her sideways. Raina, Marcus yelled. She scrambled back to the window, coughing, choking, eyes blurring. She grabbed the cable, and it snapped. Marcus screamed. Raina lunged, grabbing the edge of the window frame as the broken cable tore free. Her fingers slipped. No. Marcus shouted, Hold on. Her grip weakened. Then, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Raina. Her heart lurched. He sprinted into view in the parking lot, looking up, terror carved into every line of his face. Raina. I'm coming up. He yelled. No. She coughed. You can't. Silas, the building. But he was already running. Marcus yelled. Silas. She's slipping. Silas disappeared into the building. Raina's arms shook violently. Her grip loosened. She heard footsteps, fast, heavy, pounding toward her hallway. Then, bam! Silas burst into the room through a partially collapsed side door, smoke swirling around him. He ran to the window, grabbed her wrists, and pulled with everything he had. Silas, she choked. I've got you, he rasped. I'm not losing you, not now, not ever. She slipped. He tightened his grip. Her body swung against the wall. Pain shot up her arms. Silas, she gasped. You'll fall. I don't care, he yelled. Summoning strength she didn't know she had, Raina pushed upward while Silas pulled harder. In a final desperate motion, he lifted her into the room and crashed onto the floor with her in his arms. She collapsed against him, coughing violently, trembling uncontrollably. Silas held her, hand cradling her head, voice breaking. You're safe. I've got you. I've got you. Flames roared behind them, blocking the exit. Silas looked around frantically. This way, he said, pulling her through a side hall he'd broken through earlier. They rushed through smoke-filled corridors until collapsing outside into the cold air. Firefighters rushed them. Marcus stumbled toward them, crying openly. I thought she was dead. Silas ignored him, clinging to Raina like she was the only thing grounding him. Raina sobbed into Silas's shoulder. She'd escaped a second fire, because this time she wasn't alone. Chapter 32. The network crumbles. At the hospital, Silas paced the hallway as doctors examined Raina. He felt helpless, terrified, shaking. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her dangling from the window, her fingers slipping, her body nearly falling. He ran a hand through his hair and exhaled shakily. Drew rushed in moments later with a blanket around his shoulders. "Dad, is Raina okay?" Silas knelt to him immediately. "She's going to be okay," he said softly. "She's strong." Drew clutched his tiny stuffed bear. "She needs him back," Drew said, holding the bear tightly. "He'll protect her again." Silas hugged him close, tears threatening. Moments later, a police officer arrived. "Mr. Davenport, we need to speak with you about the arson." Silas tensed. "Byron Olcott," Silas growled. "He tried to kill her." "We're aware," the officer said grimly. "But there's more. Gregory Vale has requested to speak with you." Silas stiffened. "Why?" he demanded. "He claims to have information that can bring Byron down." "But—" the officer hesitated. "He'll only talk if Raina is present." Silas's jaw tightened. "Over my dead body." He stormed into Raina's hospital room. She was sitting upright, oxygen tube removed, bandages on her hands, skin flushed from smoke exposure. When she saw Silas, her eyes softened. "You saved me," she whispered. Silas knelt beside her bed, took her hand gently, and pressed his forehead to her knuckles. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. I can't feel that again." Her breath trembled. He lifted his head, eyes sincere, breaking, full of something unspoken. "Raina, But a nurse entered abruptly. "You have visitors." Leah stepped in, out of breath. "We need to talk," she said. "Now." Silas stood. What happened? Leah looked at them with wide, terrified eyes. Byron Olcott disappeared. Raina's blood turned cold. "And the mayor is panicking," Leah continued. "He's blaming Gregory. He's blaming everyone. And now he's planning an emergency press conference." Silas clenched his fists. "He's covering Byron's escape." "No," Leah said. "He's covering something else." "What?" Raina asked. Leah took a shaky breath. "He's trying to paint you, Raina, as the one responsible for the fire today." Raina's stomach dropped. Drew gasped. "No, that's a lie. Raina didn't do anything." Silas's face hardened with fury. "He's done." Leah nodded. "The town is turning on him. Council members are questioning him." "But Byron, he's the dangerous one. And he's gone," Raina whispered. "He's coming for me." Silas turned to the officer in the doorway. "What did Gregory say?" "He wants a meeting tonight," the officer replied. "He claims he'll give Byron's location, but only if Miss Mercer is present." Raina swallowed. "I'll do it." Silas stared at her like she'd lost her mind. No, absolutely not. "I have to," she said quietly. "It's the only way to end this." Silas stepped closer, emotion raw. "I just pulled you out of a burning building. I'm not walking you into a prison cell with a monster who wants you dead." Raina held his gaze. "With you there," she whispered, "I'll be safe." For a moment, the world faded. Just them, breathing the same air, sharing the same fear, the same determination. Silas exhaled shakily. "Okay," he whispered. "We go together." Drew tugged Raina's hand. "Raina," he whispered. She knelt beside him. "Yeah, buddy?" He pressed the stuffed bear into her arms again. "Take him with you," Drew whispered. "He brings you home." Raina hugged him tightly. "I will." Her heart ached with a fierce, protective love she never expected to feel again. Chapter 33. Gregory's Last Deal. The prison was cold, echoing, and suffocating. Raina walked beside Silas, holding Drew's bear, drawing steady breaths to calm her racing heart. Leah followed behind them, tense and alert. Officers led them to an isolated interrogation room. Gregory sat inside, handcuffed, smirking. "Ah," he said smoothly, "the hero and the survivor, and his charming assistant. Quite the trio." Silas glared daggers at him. What do you want? Silas snapped. Gregory leaned back casually. A simple trade. Rayna's jaw tightened. Information for your freedom? Gregory chuckled. Oh no, I know I'm done. I'm not getting out of here. He looked directly into Rayna's eyes. But Byron will... Rayna felt her breath freeze. Where is he? Gregory shrugged lightly. I'll tell you. But it's going to cost you. What do you want? She demanded. Gregory leaned forward slowly. I want the truth to die with me. Silas slammed his fist on the table. You're insane. Gregory's eyes flashed sharply. Silence. He turned back to Rayna, voice quiet but razor-edged. I want you to disappear. Leave Marlow Ridge. Stop digging. Stop exposing us. Stop running your mouth. Silas stepped in front of Rayna. She's not agreeing to anything. Gregory smirked. I wasn't asking her. I was telling her. Rayna stepped forward, steady and unshaken. No deal, she said. Gregory raised an eyebrow. You'd let Byron kill you? Rayna didn't flinch. I'm done being afraid. Silas couldn't hide the awe in his eyes. Gregory laughed darkly. Oh, Rayna, you really don't remember, do you? Rayna stiffened. Remember what? She whispered. Gregory leaned in close enough that she could feel his breath. The night of the fire. You didn't just witness it. Rayna's heart thudded painfully. Gregory whispered. You ran toward it. The room went silent. Gregory continued. You saw Byron inside. You tried to save Colton. You confronted us. You fought us. You screamed at us that the building would collapse. Rayna stared, trembling, images flashing in tiny shards. Gregory smiled wickedly. And when the beam fell, you watched Colton die trying to push you out. Silas froze. Leah covered her mouth. Rayna felt the world tilt violently. No, she whispered. Colton, he told me to run. Gregory nodded. He protected you, until the very end. Tears streamed down her face. Gregory leaned back. So yes, Rayna, you were meant to die. And yes, Byron blames you for surviving. Rayna nearly collapsed, Silas catching her. Gregory tapped the table. Now. My location for Byron's. Silas glared at him with pure hatred. Why help us? Silas demanded. You owe Byron nothing. Gregory replied. Because Byron will kill my family if he escapes for good. Rayna wiped her tears. Tell us, she whispered. Gregory leaned in. Byron Alcott is hiding at... Suddenly, the lights went out. A loud alarm blared. Doors slammed. Officers shouted. Smoke seeped under the interrogation room door. Silas covered Rayna instantly. What's happening? Leah yelled. Gregory smirked. Oh, looks like he found us first. The door burst open. A dark figure stood in the doorway. Byron Alcott. Rayna screamed. Silas shielded her. Byron raised a gun. Time to finish what should have happened 10 years ago. The chapter ends in black. Chapter 34. Lockdown. Smoke curled under the interrogation room door just as alarms wailed through the prison. Red emergency lights flashed violently, plunging everything into a nightmarish glow. Stay behind me, Silas said, shielding Rayna with his entire body. Gregory laughed nervously. Well, this is poetic. Leah pressed against the wall, trembling. What do we do? Boom. The door burst open. Byron Alcott stepped through, dressed in black, eyes cold as death, gun raised. Rayna froze. The man who destroyed her life. The man who tried to kill her twice. The man who killed Colton. Now standing 5 feet away, Silas stepped forward, blocking her completely. You touch her, he said, voice trembling with fury, and I swear I'll... Byron fired a warning shot. The bullet shattered the glass beside Silas's head. Step aside, Byron said calmly. My business is with her. No, Silas growled. Byron sighed like this was all terribly inconvenient. So be it. He pointed the gun at Silas. Rayna screamed, lunging forward. No! Gregory, surprisingly, threw himself sideways, knocking Byron's arm just as he fired. The bullet ricocheted, hitting the wall inches from Raina. Silas tackled Raina to the floor. Leah dove under the table. Byron stumbled back, but recovered instantly, aiming again. Gregory shouted, "Run!" Byron fired. The bullet hit Gregory square in the chest. Raina screamed. Silas dragged her toward the back exit. Leah followed, sobbing. Alarms roared louder. Prisoners shouted in nearby corridors. Gregory fell to the floor, blood pooling beneath him. But as Byron stepped over him, Gregory coughed out, "You'll never bury this. She'll expose everything." Byron raised his gun, but Raina grabbed Silas's arm. "Don't look," she whispered. Silas pulled her away as Byron fired the finishing shot. Gregory Vale, corrupt, manipulative, guilty, died saving the person he once tried to destroy. Raina sobbed as she stumbled down the hallway. Silas held her tightly. "Stay with me. Stay with me." They reached a locked emergency exit. "Break it," Raina cried. Silas slammed his shoulder into it. Once, twice. Finally, it burst open. Cold night air flooded in. They sprinted into the prison yard as guards scrambled everywhere. "Over here!" a guard shouted. They ducked behind a concrete barricade as bullets fired from the watchtower, not at them, but at Byron, who had followed them out. Byron dropped behind an overturned cart, smoke swirling around him. He fired back at the guards. Chaos erupted. Silas grabbed Raina's hand. "We need to move." Leah followed, gasping for breath. They sprinted across the yard, dodging debris. Behind them, Byron screamed, "You can't run forever, Raina. I'll finish what I started." Silas pushed her toward the perimeter gate. "Go." "What about you?" she yelled. "I'm right behind you. Just go." They reached the outer fence just as guards gained partial control. An officer shouted, "This way. Get them to safety." Silas finally reached her, breathless, shaking, covered in dust and sweat. He grabbed her face gently. "Are you hurt? Raina, look at me. Are you hurt?" She shook her head, tears spilling. "I'm okay. I'm okay." And then, for the first time, she threw her arms around him. He held her like she was the most precious thing he'd ever touched. "I thought he killed you," Raina whispered. "I'll never let him," Silas said fiercely. Behind them, Byron was swallowed into the chaos, but not captured. He escaped again. The fire inside Raina reignited. "No more running," she whispered against Silas's chest. He tightened his hold. We end this. Chapter 35. The Mayor Falls. By dawn, news of the prison chaos hit every screen in Marlow Ridge. Breaking news. Byron Alcott involved in prison incident. Gregory Vale unalived, possible cover-up. Mayor Alcott under investigation. Survivor of 2015 fire targeted again. The town was in uproar, and Mayor Alcott was drowning. At a hastily organized press conference, he tried to remain composed behind a podium, cameras flashing wildly. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tragic and unexpected situation, but I assure you—" "Cut the lies, Alcott," a reporter shouted. "Did you know about your brother's crimes?" Gasps. Alcott stiffened. "That is outrageous. Why did you suppress the fire report?" Another reporter yelled. "Did you threaten first responders?" Alcott's facade cracked. These allegations, this is all speculation." Suddenly, a voice echoed from the back. "You tried to kill me." The entire room turned. Raina Mercer stood at the entrance, pale but steady. Gasps filled the hall. Cameras swung toward her. Alcott froze. Raina stepped forward. "You knew exactly what happened in that warehouse," she said. "You knew your brother started the fire. You knew about the illegal renovations. You knew someone died because of your negligence." Alcott sputtered. "That is not true." "Yes, it is," Raina said quietly. "And you tried to bury it, just like you tried to bury me." Silas appeared behind her, hand on her back. Drew's stuffed bear poked from her bag. Audiences would melt over that detail. Leah stood beside them, face pale. The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. Alcott shook his head frantically. No, this is a smear campaign. She's unstable. She's a nobody. Silas stepped forward sharply. She's the woman who saved my son's life, he said, voice ringing through the hall. And she's the bravest person I've ever met. Applause broke out. Alcott panicked. Police officers moved in. Mayor Alcott, one officer said, "You're under investigation for obstruction of justice and conspiracy." Alcott's face drained of color. Silas whispered to Rayner, "One down." Rayner whispered back, "One to go." Byron, the real danger. The mastermind who burned the warehouse, who nearly burned her again, who killed Gregory, who escaped the prison grounds. He was still out there, and he wasn't finished. Chapter 36. Byron's last move. By late afternoon, the town was in chaos. Police cars patrolled every street. Helicopters circled overhead. People whispered Byron's name like a ghost story. But Rayner felt strangely calm. Colton's letter sat in her pocket. Drew's bear sat on her lap. Silas sat beside her on the couch, watching her with protective, aching eyes. "You don't have to do this alone," he whispered. "I know," she said softly. Silas hesitated, then took her hand. "Rayner," he whispered, "I need you to know something." She looked up. "I didn't just help you because I felt responsible," he said. "I helped you because I care about you, deeply." Her heart pounded. He leaned closer. "You are brave, kind, stronger than anyone knows. And I—" The door burst open. Silas jerked to his feet. A police officer stood breathless in the doorway. "We need you both at the station," he gasped. "Now, what happened?" Silas demanded. The officer swallowed hard. "It's Drew." Silas's heart stopped. Rayner felt ice shoot through her veins. "What about him?" Silas shouted. The officer hesitated, then delivered the line that sends shockwaves through the story. "He's missing." Silas collapsed into a chair. Rayner grabbed the officer. "How? When?" "We think," the officer stammered. "We think Byron took him." Rayner's vision blurred. Silas let out a sound halfway between a sob and a scream. "No, not my son, no." Rayner grabbed his face in her hands. Silas, look at me. Look at me." He sobbed, shaking. Rayner forced her voice steady. "We're going to find him." "How?" Silas cried. "Byron is a monster. He'll kill him. Rayner whispered. "He took Drew to get to me." Silas froze. Rayner continued. "He wants me. This is the last move in his game, and I'm going to end it." Silas shook his head violently. "No, you're not going anywhere near him." Rayner stepped closer. "I survived him before. I'll survive him again. But Drew doesn't deserve this." Tears streamed down Silas's face. Rayner held him. "We're getting your son back." And then her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Rayner opened it. A photo. Drew, tied up, crying, still clutching the stuffed bear. Rayner screamed. Silas fell to his knees. Then another text came in. "Come alone, or the boy dies. You have 2 hours." She whispers, "I'm coming for you, Byron." Chapter 37. Preparation. Rayner stood in the middle of Silas's living room, trembling but focused. The photo of Drew tied up still burned in her mind. His tear-streaked face, his tiny hands gripping the stuffed bear, his eyes searching for hope. Silas paced back and forth like a man possessed, breath ragged, fists clenched, tears he couldn't hide. "I can't lose him," he muttered. "Not him, not my boy, not my—" Rayner grabbed his hand with both of hers. "You won't lose him," she whispered. Silas shook, collapsing into her arms. "Rayner, if something happens to him, if Byron hurts him, I'll never forgive myself." She pressed her forehead to his. "Listen to me. We're bringing him back, alive, safe." Silas's voice cracked. He took him because of you. Raina froze. Her heart sank. But Silas grabbed her face before she could pull away. No, don't misunderstand. That's not blame. His voice softened to a painful whisper. Byron took him because he knows you matter to me, more than I realized. Her breath hitched. Silas continued, voice raw. You've become everything. To both of us. For a moment, the world softened. But the next moment hardened it again. Raina stepped back with purpose. We don't have time, she said. Byron wants a trade. Me for Drew. Silas grabbed her wrists. You are not going alone. He said he'll kill Drew if you come. Silas clenched his jaw. I don't care what he said. You think I'll let you walk into the hands of the man who set both fires, the man who killed Colton, the man who nearly killed you twice? Raina didn't respond, because everything he said was true. Still, her voice remained steady. Drew's life comes first. Silas stared at her, furious, terrified, helpless. Finally, he shook his head violently. I'm going with you. One way or another. Raina touched his chest. If you follow me, Drew dies. Byron made that clear. Silas's expression collapsed again. She whispered, Let me do this, Silas. He grabbed her, hugging her fiercely. Come back to me. He choked. I can't lose you either. His voice cracked. Raina held him tightly, realizing that in saving Drew, she might break Silas again. But she whispered, I promise. Just then, flashing lights appeared across the window. Police cars. Officers stormed inside. Chief Hartman stepped forward. Ms. Mercer, we need to coordinate with you. No, Raina said. I'm going alone. Silas stepped in front of her. No, she's not. Hartman shook his head. We traced Byron's vehicle. He's heading toward the old quarry outside town. Silas went pale. That place is abandoned, isolated, unsafe. It's Byron's territory, Raina whispered. It's where he feels confident. Silas gritted his teeth. We need a SWAT team. Hartman interrupted. No SWAT. If we storm the area, Byron will panic and kill the boy. We need a controlled approach. Raina exhaled shakily. I'll go first. You follow at a distance. Silas grabbed her arm harshly. No, absolutely not. Raina gently pried his hand free. I have to. Silas's chest heaved. Raina, please, don't do this, she whispered. I'm doing it for Drew, and for Colton, and for me. Silas broke, tears sliding quietly down his face. He pressed his forehead to hers. Come back, he whispered. You come back to me. She nodded. I will. Behind them, Leah entered, carrying a small flashlight and a folded map. Raina, Leah whispered, I'm coming too. I can't let you go alone. I owe this to you, and to my father. Raina shook her head. No, Leah, it's too dangerous. Leah's voice broke. He saved me in that fire. Your fiancé tried to save him too. I can't keep running from the truth. Silas looked between them, torn apart. Raina took the map. Stay with the police. Help them coordinate. If anything happens to me... Don't say that, Silas snapped. Raina nodded. She stepped outside. The cold night air hit her face. She inhaled deeply. Colton's letter pressed against her heart. Drew's bear dangled from her backpack. She whispered, I'm ready. Silas watched her go, expression broken. The chapter ends with Raina walking into the darkness, alone, toward the quarry. Chapter 38, Drew's Courage. Drew's small wrists were tied, but not painfully. Byron didn't want him injured, not yet. He just needed bait. Drew sniffled quietly in the dark storage room, his stuffed bear beside him. Daddy, he whispered. Where are you? He tried to be brave, just like Raina told him. He remembered her saying, bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about protecting the people you love anyway. Drew hugged his bear tightly. I'm being brave, Raina, he whispered. He listened carefully. Byron pacing outside, muttering to himself. Raina comes alone, the rest follow, predictable. Drew swallowed hard. He needed to do something. He wiggled his fingers. The rope loosened just slightly. His hands were small. Small enough to slip through if he tried. He took a deep breath. Slowly, painfully, he slid one hand through the rope. Then the other. He gasped quietly. He was free. But he didn't run. He didn't scream. He didn't make a sound. He crawled behind crates toward a small window. It was too high for him, but he saw shadows outside. Officers, maybe. People searching. He whispered, "Raina, please hurry." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed in the distance. Drew's heart leaped. Someone was coming. Footsteps approached the storage room. Drew scrambled behind a box, trembling. The door handle turned. The door creaked open. A figure stepped inside. Drew held his breath. The figure whispered, "Drew?" He recognized the voice instantly. "Raina!" He ran forward, but she grabbed him quickly and covered his mouth. "No sound," she whispered. Her voice shook as she hugged him tightly. "I've got you. I'm here. You're safe." Drew sobbed into her chest. "I knew you'd come. I told Daddy you'd come." She kissed his forehead. "I need you to be brave a little longer, okay?" He nodded into her shoulder. Raina examined him quickly. No injuries. Thank God. But Drew grabbed her coat. "Raina," he whispered, terrified. "He's angry. He keeps saying he'll finish it this time." Raina exhaled deeply. "I know. And I'm not letting him touch you." Suddenly, a heavy clank echoed outside. Raina stiffened. Footsteps. Slow. Calm. Purposeful. Byron. He was close. Raina lifted Drew into her arms, whispering, "You hide behind this crate, okay? No matter what you hear. Do not move until I come back." Drew's voice trembled. "But, do you trust me?" she whispered. Drew nodded. She stroked his hair. "I'll come back." She set him down gently, then stepped into the hallway. As she stepped into the open, she whispered to herself, "Colton, guide me." Chapter 39. The First Confrontation. The quarry was pitch black, except for a single lantern flickering near the center of the concrete yard. Raina stepped toward it slowly. Her footsteps echoed. Her heart pounded. She felt Byron before she saw him. "You came," he said, voice dripping with satisfaction. He stepped into the lantern's glow. Cold smile. Black coat. Gun in hand. Raina kept her chin high. "You wanted me. I'm here. Let Drew go." Byron circled her like a predator. "You think you can negotiate with me?" he asked softly. "I think you're a coward," she replied. His smile faltered. She continued, "You hide behind threats. Fires, children." Byron's face tightened. "You should have died in that warehouse." "Then why didn't I?" Raina demanded. Byron's eyes darkened. "Because Colton pushed you out of the way. He saved you. He ruined everything." Raina felt her breath hitch, but she kept her spine straight. Byron stepped closer. "You're going to walk to that edge," he said, aiming his gun toward the cliff drop at the quarry's edge. "And you're going to jump." "No," she whispered. "Yes," he said, "because if you don't, I'll go back for the boy." Raina's blood ran cold. She stepped backward, closer to the cliff. Byron smiled. "Good girl." But behind him, a faint crunch of gravel. Silas. Raina's heart leaped, but she kept her expression still. Byron didn't notice. He stepped closer. "You know why I hate you," he said quietly. "Because you lived when you shouldn't have. You carry the truth. You remind me every day of the one mistake I made." Raina whispered, "Let me make it easier for you." She took another step back. Byron raised the gun. Silas's voice shattered the silence. "Put the gun down." Byron spun. Silas stood at the quarry entrance, gun raised, officers flanking him. Byron snarled. "You followed her?" Silas's voice cracked with fury. "You touch her or my son again, and I swear." Byron fired. Shots exploded. Officers scattered. Raina screamed. Silas jumped to the side, narrowly dodging the bullet. Rayner lunged forward and grabbed Byron's arm, trying to knock the weapon from his hand. They struggled violently. Byron shoved her back toward the cliff. She stumbled. Silas screamed, "Rayner!" Byron swung the gun toward Silas. Rayner grabbed Byron's coat and yanked with all her strength. He spun, lost balance. Both he and Rayner fell toward the cliff edge. Silas sprinted. "Rayner!" Rayner slipped. Her fingers scraped against rock. Her body hung over the quarry drop, dozens of feet below. Byron clung to the edge beside her with one hand. Silas skidded to the cliff, reaching desperately. "Rayner, take my hand." She reached, but Byron grabbed her ankle. She screamed. Byron hissed, "If I die, you die with me." Silas shouted, "Let her go." Byron snarled, "Never." He tightened his grip. Rayner screamed again. The chapter ends with Rayner dangling from the cliff, Byron dragging her downward, Silas inches away, hand outstretched, officers racing toward them, Drew crying from somewhere behind them, and the final line, "Silas." Chapter 40. The Edge of Everything. Rayner dangled over the cliff, fingers slipping on loose rock, pain shooting up her arm every time Byron yanked her ankle. Below her, a drop long enough to end everything. Above her, Silas, pale, desperate, reaching, screaming her name. "Rayner, hold on," Silas shouted, voice cracking. "I'm trying." She sobbed. Byron snarled beneath her, struggling to climb up her leg. "You're not escaping this time," he hissed. "You die with me. You always should have died with me." Silas grabbed at the rock, trying to anchor himself closer, ignoring the cuts tearing into his hands. He reached for Rayner again. "Take my hand." Her fingers slipped another inch. Rayner choked out, "Silas, I can't." "Yes, you can," he shouted. "You survived a fire. You survived 10 years alone. You survived me almost losing you. You are the strongest woman I've ever known. Now take my hand." Something in her ignited. She reached. Their fingertips touched, but Byron jerked her ankle violently. Rayner screamed as her body lurched downward. Silas roared, "Let her go!" Officers charged from behind. One shouted, "Mr. Davenport, don't get too close." Silas ignored everything. He saw only Rayner, and he refused to lose her. He lunged forward, grabbed her wrist with both hands. Her scream cut off. She gasped. She held on to him desperately. Silas cried out, "I've got you. I've got you, Rayner. Don't let go." Byron snarled below, "That's fine. If I fall, she falls." He jerked downward again. Rayner shrieked. Silas's grip nearly slipped, but he caught her again, pulling harder than he knew he could. Behind him, Drew's voice broke through the chaos. "Rayner!" Rayner's heart shattered at the sound. Silas's face twisted, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Rayner, please, don't leave us." She screamed back, "I'm trying." Suddenly, officers grabbed Silas's torso, steadying him so he wouldn't fall. One officer positioned himself behind Rayner, trying to grab her other hand. "On my count," the officer yelled. 3, 2. Byron screamed from below, "She dies with me." He yanked her one last time. Rayner screamed as her grip loosened, but Silas roared from the depths of his soul. Knew. With a final desperate exertion, Silas pulled. Officers pulled, and Rayner's body slid upward over the cliff edge. She tumbled into Silas's arms, sobbing, shaking, barely able to breathe. Silas held her like he never intended to let go. Below them, Byron's hand clung to one last rock. His face twisted in hatred. "You don't win," Byron hissed. "The truth dies with me." Silas shielded Rayner. Officers shouted, "Drop the weapon!" Byron didn't drop anything. He made one last lunge. The rock beneath him crumbled. He slipped. He fell. Rayner turned away, burying her face in Silas's chest as Byron Olcott plummeted into the quarry below. Silas held her tightly. "It's over," he whispered into her hair. "I've got you. I've got you." Raina sobbed harder. But for the first time, her tears were relief. Chapter 41. Reunion and Healing. Raina was wrapped in a blanket, trembling still from shock as paramedics examined her. Silas stayed glued to her side, refusing to let go of her hand. She felt safe. She felt protected. For the first time in 10 years, she felt alive. She whispered, "Where's Drew?" Silas's eyes softened, full of overwhelming emotion. "He's right." "Raina." Drew sprinted from an officer's arms, tears streaming, and launched himself directly into Raina's lap. She caught him instantly, hugging him so tightly she never wanted to let go. He sobbed into her chest. "You came for me. I knew you would. I wasn't scared 'cause you're brave." Raina cried softly into his hair. "You're the brave one," she whispered. "You held on. You survived. I'm so proud of you." Silas knelt beside them, one hand over Drew's back and the other brushing Raina's cheek. "You saved him," Silas whispered. "No," she said softly. "We saved him." Silas's voice cracked. "Raina, I can't lose either of you. Not now. Not ever." Their eyes locked. For a moment, even surrounded by chaos, officers, medics, lights. It was just them, a family born from fire and survival. And then, Silas leaned in, not rushed, not pressured, not because of adrenaline, because it was time. He kissed her, softly, gently, reverently, a trembling kiss full of gratitude and fear and new beginnings. Raina melted into him. Drew hugged both of them at the same time, and for a moment, everything broken felt whole again. The next morning, the town buzzed with shock. Byron was dead. Gregory was dead. The mayor was arrested. The truth about the fire was uncovered. Raina Mercer, the woman the town whispered about, was now the town's hero. People apologized. People shook her hand. People thanked her. But the only thanks she cared about was the quiet one Silas whispered each morning. "Thank you for being alive." And Drew's, "Don't ever leave us." Chapter 42. A New Beginning. Final chapter. Weeks passed. Marlow Ridge began healing, slowly but surely. The fire investigation reopened, and the truth officially came to light. Colton was honored as a hero. Leah's father's report was restored. New safety laws passed, and the Alcott legacy crumbled forever. Silas's company recovered with surprising unity. Once the corruption was purged, employees rallied behind him like never before. But Raina? Raina rebuilt her life too. She took a job as a community counselor, helping families affected by trauma. She moved into a new apartment, bright, clean, peaceful. She saw a therapist. She cooked again. She slept again. She smiled, genuinely, for the first time in a decade. Silas visited often, sometimes with Drew, sometimes alone. One evening, as the sun dipped behind red brick roofs, Silas stood on her porch holding a small box. Raina raised an eyebrow. "You look nervous," she teased. He swallowed. "A little." She stepped closer. "What's going on?" Silas opened the box. Inside was a small, delicate locket. "It was my mother's," he said softly. "She wore it every day, and she told me that one day I should give it to the woman who saved my heart." Raina blinked through tears. "Silas." He took her hands. "You saved Drew. You saved me. You saved yourself. And you finished what Colton started." He gently placed the locket around her neck. "You are the bravest woman I've ever known." Raina's voice trembled. "You're giving me your mother's locket." "No," Silas whispered. "I'm giving you my heart." She stepped forward and kissed him, deeper, fuller than before. A kiss that felt like healing, like hope, like a promise of life after everything. When they parted, Drew peeked out from behind the porch railing. "Are you going to kiss again?" he asked innocently. Raina laughed through tears. "Maybe." Drew ran over and hugged her legs. "You're part of our family now," he said proudly. Dad said so. Silas turned bright red, but Raina knelt to Drew's level. Is that okay with you? She asked. Drew nodded seriously. You saved me. Now we save you too. Raina pulled him into a hug, and as the three of them stood there, tangled in warmth, in gratitude, in new beginnings, Raina felt something she hadn't felt in 10 long years. Peace. A new life. A new love. A new chapter. Sometimes life burns down everything we know, not to destroy us, but to force us to rise again. Trauma does not mean weakness. Survival does not mean defeat. And healing does not mean forgetting. It means choosing to live anyway. Raina Mercer thought her story ended in fire. But it began in survival, grew in truth, and blossomed in love. Every life can be rebuilt. Every heartbreak can be healed. And every survivor deserves a second chance to be happy. Sometimes life doesn't break us all at once. Sometimes it chips away slowly, through loss, disappointment, betrayal, and moments where the world looks at us and decides we're invisible. This story wasn't just about fire, danger, or survival. It was about what happens after everything falls apart. Raina lost her future in a single night. She lost love, stability, identity, and for a long time, she believed that what was broken could never be repaired. But what her story reminds us is this: rock bottom is not the end. It's a foundation. You don't need to have all the answers today. You don't need to be strong every moment. You don't even need to know where you're going next. All you need is the courage to take one step forward, even when your hands are shaking. Picking up the pieces doesn't mean pretending the pain never happened. It means choosing to build with those pieces. It means letting your scars become proof that you survived, not evidence that you failed. If you're watching this and you feel lost, tired, or like life has knocked you down one too many times, hear this clearly: you are not done. Your story is still unfolding. At RustRoad Stories, we believe that the road may be rough, but it's still worth walking. Healing isn't linear. Growth isn't loud. And hope doesn't always arrive as a miracle. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet decision to try again tomorrow. So, wherever you are in life, don't give up. Pick up the pieces and keep going. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this road with us.